It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. Great panel for you. Brianna Wu is here from Rebellion Pack. Dan Patterson, he's got a new job at Blackbird.ai. I'll let him explain that. And Janko Roettgers of lowpass.cc. You may remember him from GigaOM and Variety. We will be talking AI this week. Of course, OpenAI's developer days were this week. They announced something called GPTs. They could revolutionize as AI. I think they're very interesting. We'll also talk about that new Humane AI Pin. Do you want to have a pin that's watching all the time? And then, speaking of watching all the time, why does Nissan want to know about my sexual activity? We'll talk about privacy in cars and why it's not against the law to spy on you. All that coming up and a lot more next on TWiT.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 953, recorded Sunday, November 12th, 2023. Deadly Competent. This Week in Tech is brought to you by ExpressVPN. If you really want to go incognito, protect your privacy, make yourself as invisible as possible with the #1 rated VPN, the only one I use, ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/twit. And by Nareva. It's a first. Nareva's new Pro Series, the HDL 310 for large rooms and the HDL 410 for extra large rooms, give you uncompromised audio and systems that are incredibly simple to set up, manage, and deploy at scale. Learn more at nareva.com/twit. And by Lookout. Whether on a device or in the cloud, your business data is always on the move. Minimize risk, increase visibility, and ensure compliance with Lookout's unified platform. Visit lookout.com today. And by Miro, the online workspace for innovation, where your team can dream, design, and build the future together from any location. Tap into a way to map processes, visualize content, run retrospectives, and keep all your documents and data in one place. Get your first 3 boards for free at miro.com/podcast. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. Oh, boy, the show I wait for all week long. Talk about the week's tech news. What I try to do every week, with the help of Jason Howell, who does all the work, is put together a team, a panel of people who can talk about the week's tech news intelligently. And I think we have exceeded expectations. First, say hello to Brianna Wu, Executive Director of Rebellion Pack, former candidate for Congress, former target of Gamergate, husband to Frank. Wife to Frank. Husband is Frank. Anything else, Brianna, we should put in your CV? Likes to drive Boxsters.
#2, Princess Peach speedrunner in the entire world.
And the #2, how could I forget? Princess Peach speedrunner in the entire world.
Super Mario 2. Thank you. I need to.
Are you satisfied with #2? Are you going for? No,
I'm not. That jerk that took me off the leaderboard. I'm coming for him. I'm coming for you, buddy. You don't know when. If you hear a noise behind you at night on speedrun.com, that's Brianna Wu coming for your record, buddy.
What's is your speedrun on YouTube somewhere? Or?
Yeah, I'll drop it in the show.
Okay, I'd like to see it. But you're still practicing, in other words. You haven't given up. You haven't hung up your
There's kind of an election going on, so I can't say that games have really been my top priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also with us, the great Janko Roettgers. You may remember him from GigaOM, and you were at Variety for a while, and now has his own newsletter, Low Pass, at lowpass.cc, Filtering the Future, a wonderful newsletter where you're doing the same great work that you've always done, but you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for the man.
Pretty much, yeah.
I love it.
It's I'm doing it for everyone.
Yeah, but you don't have a corporate master.
I am my corporate master.
Yeah, that's what I found out when I started TWiT. I said, I don't want to work for the man anymore. I told my friend Patrick Norton, he said, Leo, there's always a man. In my case, the man's a woman, my wife, who runs a place a good friend, as you know, Brianna Wu knows her very well. She's in charge. Everybody knows that.
Lisa is amazing. She is literally the nicest, most deadly competent person I know.
Deadly competent. That's a really good description of her.
If it was the zombie apocalypse and I could choose like 5 people, it wouldn't be special forces. It would be Lisa.
No, give her a rake and you're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also with us, and it's good to have him back. For a while, he had moved to the dark side. He comes and he goes. He's like
no dark side.
He's like Scarlet Pimpernel. But now I
never went to.
Well, we couldn't have you on for some reason. I forgot why. You were working for somebody you couldn't. I don't remember what. Anyway, Dan Patterson is back.
It's great to see you.
You're an AI now.
I am in AI. I still write occasionally for Jason Heiner and at ZD and some other places. But yeah, the day job is Blackbird.ai. We track, and I don't want to log roll, but we track dis and misinformation all day long. We track manipulated content.
This is huge. Now, do you do it for companies? Do you do it for journalistic enterprises?
We do it for government organizations, for governments, and for nonprofits.
Fantastic.
Many of which I can't and we don't talk about.
Well, then I won't ask you. I won't ask you.
Well, it's a lot of organizations are trying to confront this challenge of they're effectively narrative attacks, right? And Brianna is very familiar with this. And I was during the 2020 election. When you are charitably brigaded online, when that happens to a government, to an organization, to a company, that can be disastrous.
Well, it's sure in the news these days, and it's only going to get worse as we lead up to the election. I think the Israeli-Hamas war has also kind of stepped this up, as has Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people would want to spread disinformation, and thanks to AI, it's become easier to do it at scale.
Yeah, proliferates.
Alex,
in your software detect it when Leo forgets to mention the number 2 Princess Peach speedrunner? That's disinformation. We need this caught and stopped immediately.
You want me to play this? Is that it? Is that what you're talking about?
No, you don't.
Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Frank's rooting you on, which is hysterical. Is this like getting up to the starting line? Is this?
Yeah. This is as you're starting the game. So go like a second in. You have to show the beginning of it because it indicates if you're cheating or not.
Do you have my audio? There it is. Okay.
Where do you do this, Brianna? Do you do this at your home?
Kids be, Porter? I do it right here. I've done it for Games Done Quick as well. So really exciting stuff.
Here we go. Choose a player. You, of course, are going to be Princess Peach because there's no other player to be.
No, she can float. Come on. This takes a lot of work. Okay, look at this. Frame perfect. Boom.
That's how you win. Frame perfect, right? You got to be frame perfect.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, we're not going to spend the whole show watching this. How long?
It should just be.
I don't know.
It should be a
in the
whole
background.
show
We should just have this in the background.
Yes.
It's on Vimeo. Look for what should we search for on Vimeo?
Just Brianna with speedrun. My Resident Evil 3 speedruns are on there too.
Yeah, the world's coming to an end, but you are a dominant force in Princess Peach.
There we go.
Actually, it's Super Mario Advance, we should say. Not you are playing Princess Peach.
There's a new Princess Peach video game coming out called Princess Peach Showtime. I'm really psyched for this.
She's got her own game, finally. All right. I was going to mention, speaking of disinformation, Alex, I just found out Alex Stamos will be joining us this week on This Week in Google. He runs the Stanford Internet Observatory. But, we've also had Joan Donovan on before. It seems like disinformation researchers in academia are under constant attack, Dan. I mean, it's hard to do, but the academy doesn't like them.
I think, just speaking generally, I think that there are efforts, there isn't just one, but there are efforts to attack and malign institutions and those who are
they're easier to attack, aren't they? They're more sensitive.
Yeah.
Like Brianna's got to hide like a rhinoceros, But if you had a day job working for Harvard University, Harvard does not. And so that's where they go after them.
Yeah, they go after, right. They're vulnerable.
Right. Yeah.
But they're academics. So academics, journalists, government employees, anybody who is in a position of authority at an influential or an institution, you are constantly attacked by a number of forces.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, I couldn't be more vague, huh?
That's all right. You're probably being judicious, which is a good thing to be in this particular arena. One doesn't want to stir up any animus. Let's talk about AI, though. This was a big week for AI, starting on Monday with OpenAI's Developer Days, and I thought, a kind of exciting keynote from Sam Altman. I didn't, when he first started, I thought, this is not going to be that exciting. But he said first of all, dropping the cost dramatically. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, any of you, but I think the big announcement was that they were going to allow people to create these, what he calls GPTs, this little agents based on ChatGPT-4, and there would be ultimately a GPT store. This seems like a big step forward in AI. Am I wrong? And by the way, I should point out before you answer, I am an AI skeptic. You don't have to convince me. Everything I've seen up to now just is like, I compared it to Cliff Clavin on Cheers. It's like somebody who doesn't know everything but thinks he does in a very eloquent way explaining why you're wrong. These things just don't impress me so far. They seem mediocre at best. But my take on the GPTs is, because these are going to be designed to do one thing, and generally from a corpus of information that is reliable, that there's some great potential here. Do you think you agree, Dan?
Yeah, I think, what this could do is set up an economic incentive structure that would allow, you would think, much like the App Store opened up, or maybe YouTube opened up, to allow independent developers to create apps. This could do something very similar. If some of the, right now the App Store in OpenAI is pretty challenging. I would argue that it's not very good or not very useful, but creating personalized GPTs could provide some incentive structure that allows this to scale rapidly, or create things that fit custom needs, and the incentive structure that help developers build those specific needs.
Yeah. Here's the process of creating and Sam did this. He demonstrated it. He made a mentor AI that took one of his speeches about mentoring startups and turned it into a startup mentor. So you start by messaging it, saying something like, in this case, they give an example, make a creative who helps generate visuals for new products. But this can go far beyond this. I mean, this could be a user agent that books airplane tickets online. It could be an HR representative that's actually read the handbook and can answer any question you have about it.
I think you're right, Leo. To this point, I've tried to use AI as a part of the journalism, or at least the content creation process, for the majority of this year. And I think I'd agree that a lot of the tools or a lot of the products are pretty mediocre, or at least they produce like C+ results. Like, this is passable, but it's not like
I was in college, like a gentleman's C.
Me too. But I think that this is the first instance of an iteration that could elevate the tool beyond like, that's a nice novelty.
Here's some examples from OpenAI. Game time, for instance, it can quickly explain board games or card games. So it knows all the rules, and you can ask it, how do I play cribbage? A coloring book hero that can take any idea and turn it into whimsical coloring books. Let's see. Brianna. Woo. Speed running. What's the name of the game?
Super Mario 2.
Super Mario 2 as Princess. Let's see if we can get a coloring book for you here. Peach. And so what? Okay. But to adhere to our guidelines, I'd like to avoid using specific names. Okay, well, all right. So I guess there's a lot of talking here. Again, Cliff Clavin, fine, just do it. Just stop explaining. What do you, Brianna, you have an opinion on all this? Not the coloring book, but...
So, let's just be honest about how this is probably going to be used. We've seen the tendency to use every single one of these technologies in tech before. Right?
Stop talking immediately.
Look at that! Oh my God! Can you send that to me, Leo? I love that.
Yes, this is on its way to you.
I love that.
It created
it's
a coloring book, right? So there's no color, but it's
beautiful.
Outlines. A kid would love coloring this in. It's Princess Peach sitting on a
Why does Princess
couch.
Peach have a PS2 controller?
I should have said on an
that's
Xbox.
An error.
Yeah.
That's an error. No, I think that, look, I agree with you that this is overhyped. I think the AI is going to be very helpful with some things. I think you should think of it less as a technology that's going to revolutionize everything and more as like a spice that gets added to your food that makes a meal really, really good. A great example is Lightroom. If you look at where the masking is in Lightroom today versus 5 years ago, they've got a lot of AI, ML tools to make this a lot easier to select your subject and other parts of it that are really, really good. That doesn't fundamentally change Lightroom, but it does make Lightroom better. I think that these tools are going to be helpful for some things, like summarize my email box, give me a draft of this particular letter, make me a coloring book playing to my narcissism, right? All those things are good, but I think a really good question to ask yourself when any new technology comes out is how could a really, really deranged person abuse this technology and do some terrible things with it? And I think anyone can very easily think of a number of things AI will be used to, like add abuse. I think people can think of ways this is going to hurt the labor market. And just one more quick point. Yeah. When we started take Xbox Live as a result, as a initial product, the very first version of Xbox Live Arcade, they had human monitors in the loop that actually looked at reports when people were being abusive and evaluated if it was, and then they had a one strike and you're out rule and they suspended the jerks. That was a much, much better system than what they have today, which is a bunch of NLP and automated systems and basically letting all the jerks play with each other, which we know makes everyone more toxic because it's adding toxic behavior to toxic behavior. So I think that this store, I think it's going to be successful as a novelty, the same way that all these VR games were a really fun novelty. But I think the real way we're going to feel this invention is the way it's going to hurt the labor market.
I mean, I can see they gave some examples, and I think, for instance, the example I've seen is nobody reads the HR handbook at work. We have one that's this thick because there's all these laws and stuff. So what if you had a GPT, because I guess we're going to have to get used to this terminology, but that's what they call these little agents, but a GPT agent that has ingested the handbook. You tell it specifically, don't answer anything that's not in this handbook. And now, instead of calling the poor harried HR person, which our employees do all the time, does this count as a day off if I do this on a holiday? And they just query the GPT. It answers accurately because it's taking it from the handbook. That is either going to free up the HR person or going to cost her job. But that seems to me a good use. By the way, I asked for a Princess Peach playing with an Xbox instead, and it's complied. So just so you know, Xbox controller now available. Yeah, Janko, what do you think?
I mean, I see points on both sides. I do have to say it's, regardless of how it's going to play out in the end, it's sort of impressive to see the speed at which this is evolving right now.
It feels like this is a big step, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I was just thinking back at sort of the analogy to that, and it's not the one-to-one analogy, but some of the prior voice assistants or like current voice assistants, right, and so forth. Amazon had this whole initiative where they were like, people can now generate custom assistants based on Alexa. I think they did 2 or 3, and since they have announced that, which was 4 years ago, or I could get these numbers wrong, so don't quote me on that. But very slow, because these are corporate partnerships,
Right.
and then you have to like get people involved, and what does this assistant do? And then it still lives within the Alexa thing or with certain guardrails. So the fact that companies can now go out there and create their own GPT really quickly for their own purposes is impressive.
It's it's impressive. Might be a little scary to some, because there are, in fact, last week both the U.S. President Biden issued an executive order limiting AI, and there was one out of Bletchley Park in England featuring a number of Kamala Harris was there, Elon Musk, I think the German chancellor was there. So it's clear people are starting to also worry about these AIs. To me, the issue is not creating these GPTs, as long as you don't give them agency. Like if it's just operating in a digital form. I mean, I guess it could be a disinformation issue, Dan. But as long as you don't give them don't give them nukes. Don't. I mean, that's when. Now, interestingly, this week the United States and China said we are going to regulate the use of AIs in both drones and nuclear weaponry as part of the APEC meetings this week in San Francisco. That to me seems exactly the right direction to go. Not to let's have the development, let's speed it up, but let's also consider where we've got to protect, people from what AI could do. And the biggest,
separating.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Well, separating the real harms from the potential or science fictional,
yes.
or right. I think I've mentioned this on this show before. If I have, forgive me, but I feel like I have interviewed almost everyone in AI at one point or another. I've been covering this since 2016 or so. And I talked to Nick Bostrom, who he's an Oxford philosopher, and he wrote the book Superintelligence, Paths, Dangers, Strategies about 10 years ago.
Nick's very famous. He's the guy who came up with the simulation hypothesis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's very right. All of this whole mythical AI is going to destroy the world comes from his thinking or some of his writing. I don't think that he intended this, but this is a consequence of some of his work. He told me that we are likely to overestimate the capabilities of artificial intelligence, but underestimate the dangers, meaning we can see, or we could see this as some super intelligence robot. And if we are focused on these scenarios where AI takes over the world by doing science fiction stuff, then we're going to miss the real dangers. Some of those are mis and disinformation, and some of those are just, like Brianna said, our economy and our workforce is really vulnerable to this right now.
Yeah, those HR people who might be out of work. But then maybe the job that they were doing was, if it could be automated that easily, wasn't such an important job. I don't know. The telephone sanitizers are going to be replaced.
Workers typically labor gets the short end of the stick when it comes to much innovation.
Although I have to say, maybe because of this, labor's of late been flexing its muscle. I mean, just look at both the WGA, the Writers Guild, and now the SAG strike.
The auto workers.
And the auto workers. But certainly those two in the entertainment industry were very much concerned with AI, and both won victories on the AI front. So I don't know. Maybe this is a beneficial fear that they will then step up to.
Oh, I think certainly. I mean, the problem, look, I feel like I'm a broken record on this show saying this is technology is not good or evil, right? It's a tool. And
right.
I think we get the bad results with this when we sit out the political process. We don't ask how these things are going to affect us, and we don't have technology policy, right? When we're proactive, when you have labor unions doing exactly what they should do, which is look at a threat for something like AI, and they use the power of collective bargaining to get a result that protects workers. That is the system working. That is exactly what we want. It's sad that there was so much human cost while they were waiting for a fair result. But this is what you need to do, is be proactive with this. And this is what I've been advocating with government as well. What worries me, however, and I suspect Dan would agree with this, is I don't think that we have social media platforms that are really proactive in thinking about how AI is going to shape the election landscape and how it's going to affect basically disinformation online. We are certainly seeing right now, obviously what's going on in the news is an incredibly inflammatory topic that has extremely charged emotions on all sides. But I have no doubt that some of that is being made worse by people that, they win by slamming a wedge into these pre-existing divisions in American life. And I think AI is going to be used to massively amplify that. Or maybe I'm wrong, Dan. Maybe I'm paranoid.
I don't think. If you're paranoid, we both are.
One of the, it was actually, I think the final sticking point in the SAG discussions was that the motion picture producers had proposed that if you were working on a movie at any price above scale, they should be able to scan your image and use it in the movie. And then the thing that was a sticking point was, and then continue to use that image forever after without permission or pay.
Jesus.
And of course, the union said, well, oh, wait a minute. And they were able to get the AMPTP, the motion picture and television producers, to agree. All right. We'll pay you and we'll get your permission.
So the devil's advocate take on that is that there was two sticking points in that conflict, right? There was AI and there was the streaming money. And on the streaming money
was a big one.
The unions didn't get nearly as much as they asked for. I think they wanted $500 million in streaming, because the whole issue with residuals not happening anymore because movies stay forever on streaming services, or they just like get killed right away because Warner does stupid stuff. So the issue was that they really wanted a lot more money for streaming, and they asked for $500 million, or I think 1 or 2% of streaming revenue, and they got $40 million. But they also got these AI rights. So you could say, yes, they have a big win on the AI front. Or you could say, well, the studios got the worst possible scenario out there in their proposal with AI, and then they took a step backwards. And in return, they get to keep a lot more money.
Yeah, the streaming.
So the AI might be the boogeyman that.
Yeah. Maybe it was a mistake to focus on the AI too much. Interesting.
I mean, it's probably not wrong to focus on it, but there's also other pressing issues, obviously.
Yeah, both the Writers Guild and the actors were concerned because in the past they've been paid residuals on broadcast rights, on reruns on TV. But nowadays with streaming, A, the streaming channels don't tell you how many people saw, and B, they don't pay you for the reruns because they're all reruns, I guess. So they got something, but that doesn't sound like they got nearly what they were asking. Interesting.
Right.
I hope both sides are satisfied. Or actually, I guess what you say is, I hope both sides are mildly dissatisfied with the solution. Because,
Janko, do you know, were the studios or do the streamers now have to disclose numbers, or are those still obfuscated?
I mean, they are disclosing it more for different reasons now, which is that they are moving into advertising.
Yeah.
And if you have advertising, then
they gotta
want to know how much stuff gets watched in this particular, like Netflix now lets also advertisers buy ads against certain shows or genres and those things. And now they need to obviously disclose a lot more data than before. But I don't think that was part of this particular conflict. I could be wrong, but I don't think that was a big sticking point in this.
Yeah. I think there's also a push, for instance, if Apple wants to get more movies from big directors, they're going to have to do something, because those directors, they want Academy Awards, but they'd also like to know that there are lots of people seeing their movie. And so I think the streamers are also realizing that in order to draw big name talent, they're going to have to release some information about viewership.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then you also need to have a lot of viewers, which not all these services have.
There's a reason they don't mention the numbers, isn't there? Yeah.
The numbers are either far better or far worse. Either way, it's not in their interest to disclose.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, much more likely far worse. They're all struggling.
Yeah.
All right. Well, somebody's in the Discords, our Club Twit Discord saying, yeah, but if you have an AI doing HR, what happens when there's a dispute? But that's the point, is that the AI is just doing the dumb stuff, answering questions about the handbook, which frees up, in theory, an HR person to handle it if there's, a bigger issue. I think that's the important thing with all of this is AIs can go a certain distance, but there almost always needs to be some sort of human involvement for the best result. And AI is merely an assistant. But we're moving fast. This week also the Humane Pin was announced.
Tremendous.
Just before we did that, Leo, can we jump back to AI for just one super quick second?
Please do.
Because I was really impressed. I think it said a lot about the AI announcements this week, that Microsoft had such a heavy presence there. Friend of the show, Christina Warren, she was out there in person. She's basically the public face of GitHub. And I was looking at this and I was not aware of just how important cloud services were to Microsoft. If you look this up, back in the 90s and the nils, Microsoft Office, the Office suite was the majority of Microsoft's revenue, right? Today, I believe it was something like 7% is Windows nowadays, and 30% of all of Microsoft's revenue, 33% is through Azure and other cloud services. So I think when you've got literally the CEO of Microsoft out there talking about this, I think it really speaks to how much Microsoft is betting on this for the cloud. And there are a lot of really good, I feel like a really underreported part of these AI technologies is their use for cybersecurity in both offense and defense. China has actually invested way more into this than the United States is, as far as we can tell. So I think it's really, really interesting to see Microsoft not just being there at the announcement, not just bringing their most important people, but to really be spearheading this as the future of their company. I think that's really significant.
Yeah. They put $10 billion into OpenAI, and they are, I think the deal is to receive 40% of the profits, a little more than 40% of the profits. So they are kind of an owner. Right. And note that probably a lot of that 10 billion was credits on Azure. But this was, I think your point, and I think it's well taken, is that all of this uses a huge amount of cloud resources. The AI is a boon for Amazon, Azure, to a lesser degree Google, and the other cloud service providers, because that's what you need to do to train your AIs. And still to this day, AI queries are all going through those cloud servers. They're
and power.
And power.
We don't talk about this much. I had a hard time selling this story this summer, but the power consumption, constantly training models, they like us to think, well, we train one and we're done, but these models are constantly being improved and they're constantly competing with each other. The cloud or the power consumption on this makes the cloud consumption look small. So we are entering into a new era where if we rely on these AI agents, then the power consumption is just going to go through the roof. Brianna, to your point, the guy who helped build and engineer a lot of this, I think if we want to kind of read the tea leaves and look where Microsoft and much of the industry might be going, is Jason Zander, who really built the cloud services at Microsoft. He built Azure into the giant that it is. He helped push AI into where it is now. And he pivoted over to quantum, which I think is going to be the next hype cycle of Microsoft or the tech industry. Microsoft,
if they can get it working.
Exactly, if they can get it working.
Yeah. I think fusion's going to be huge someday too, but neither quantum computing nor fusion is yet working. But yeah, you bet. Well, what's interesting, and we've talked about this before, that all these companies and VCs are putting tons of money into quantum and fusion. That they want to find the next big thing. Maybe AI is the next big thing, but as you point out, it's very costly. Although I have to point out, people have been complaining about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies consuming vast amounts of power, and that was pretty much for nothing. At least with AI, we're getting something.
Pretty much nothing.
What are you talking about, Leo? I have a 997 outside I got because I bought a bunch of Bitcoin.
Oh, great. So for speculators,
about it.
It's a good thing. Yes. Yeah. Thank goodness you ran for Congress.
I'm in the very few people that made money on this.
I have a Bitcoin wallet with 7.85 Bitcoin in it if I could just figure out how to open it. This is from last month's This is from last month's New York Times. A peer review analysis published Tuesday lays out some early estimates in a middle ground scenario, not even the worst case. By 2007, AI servers could use between 85 to 134 terawatt hours every year.
Woo. Holy cow.
That's like Argentina. Or the Netherlands or Switzerland. It's about 0.5% of the world's current electricity, and that's just a few years from now. And of course, it could go get even worse. That's clearly an issue, especially nowadays, because maybe we don't want to burn up all of our fossil fuels immediately.
Yeah. I have to say, I found a really helpful use case for being AI this week. I was in early this week on Monday. I debated a conservative at the University of South Carolina who wanted to ban all pornography. And I was trying to go through like tons of studies and really just be ready with a bunch of data. And I found Bing AI to be really, really, really impressively good at going through that, kind of giving me an update and helping me understand these studies and really isolating on the key figures. Just a fantastic use case of it, because it can go and read the abstract. And you can say, like, give me really, really good details on like how many men in the United States seek inpatient treatment for pornography addiction, right? And it's really, that's the kind of thing this is good for. Like a manual Google search of that would take you a really long time. So I do think this has a future. I've also sat through so many Silicon Valley cycles of hype of products that just are not what they lived up to, like VR, Web3, and I think we're going there again in some ways.
Well, the future is a pin that you put on use a magnet.
Yes,
we're going to get to that. Nice, but that's the judgment we use and we have to use all the time. Is this just another hype cycle? Where are we in the hype cycle? And is there some value? And I have to say, I've been very skeptical of AI. But after this OpenAI keynote on Monday, I'm starting to think I could start to see a future where AI is omnipresent in our lives in a variety of form factors and is of value. I can also see some risks inherent in it, which is why I'm glad to see the U.S. and China agree not to let the AIs control the nukes. This is the pin you're talking about, the November 9th, the Humane AI Pin. Now, this is just one of a number of AI appliances that'll be coming out. There's also rewindai, which is a pendant. But the premise is, well, there's a couple of things. This is to replace the phone. So I think some of what's driving Humane is, and they're two former Apple designers, is what's the next big thing, right? Let's get on that, because it's too late to do a smartphone and win. Let's get on the next big thing. But it is an AI device. Huh?
This is just a smartphone without a screen, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of. It's $699, so it's smartphone priced. It's $25 a month. T-Mobile subscription required to power it. It has a camera. It has a microphone. It does have a light that turns on when you record. So there's a certain
projection thing is cool.
This I think is a mistake because yes, it's a screenless phone, but the screen which projects onto your hand has to be in exactly the right place, and it's, as you can see, it's kind of blurry. This is Ron Amadio's review in Ars Technica, and he said, this doesn't replace a screen. I don't think it's the most interesting part of it. I think the most interesting part is the notion that you can have an AI in your life with you, recording your interactions, that you can then query later about those. Imagine, I mean, that's what the rewind does as well. In fact, it doesn't have a light. It's always recording. Imagine that you could say, you go through your day or you go through your week. I was thinking this would be useful. And you could say at the end of the week, hey, can you give me a list of all the things I agreed to do this week? Right? Maybe that's just me, but I agree to do a lot of things and forget about it. Can you tell me, who I met this week and add them to my contact list? There's things you could see that an AI would be very good at doing if it could just be record everything you hear.
An information retrieval system.
Yeah.
Peripheral computing.
Yes. What do you think?
I suspect I'm going to get shot down on this. I love this idea. I'm definitely going to get one.
Oh, are you?
100%.
I was very interested before it came out, but once I found out the price and the limitations, I thought, okay, this isn't going to be the one. I'm going to get something like this for sure someday.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But I also I got the first generation Palm Pilot. And Palm
you're an
5,
early adopter,
and that was a very useful device of what eventually ended up becoming the iPhone. Right. This I'm a really big Star Trek fan, and
this is Star Trek very much. Yeah,
it's very much the combat, right?
Right.
And the idea of when you watch Star Trek, I'm always struck because it's the future, but they're not sitting there staring at screens all the time.
Right.
They're walking around, they're present, they're talking to each other, they're having their humanity. I realize this is a scripted show. That's the reason for it. But I do want something that will have less of this addictive draw me in factor all the time, where I can be present, I can have access to information that I need for my job and be connected in case I need a phone call. This is the ideal. I don't think it's going to work very well, but I want this product to come to market.
I can understand. You might want it just because I got to see how this is and see where the issues are, because it's the beginning of something. It's like buying an Atari 2600. It's not the end all be all video game machine, but it's the beginning of something. Last week, Mike Elgin was praising up and down his Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which they record, but they have an AI built in. You could talk to it, but they don't have that processing thing going on.
Next year, they're going to get a better AI actually, where you can have visual identification. So right now, it's basically a voice assistant that you can ask stuff like, "Oh, I'm here," or "What should I do?" or whatever. Similar to any voice assistant that you could access on your earbuds or whatever.
So how close is this? How you think
next year the Ray-Bans are gonna? Yeah, they said they're gonna ship it next year, where you look at stuff and then it identifies it for you. So that's very similar to the Humane AI Pin too. And that's actually, I think the camera is the most controversial part about all of those gadgets, but it's also the most interesting one.
Because of Google Glass, right?
Yeah. Or general privacy concerns. Obviously, there's big privacy concerns around that. But the one part of the demo that I actually really liked at from the Humane AI Pin was when he was holding up a handful of almonds, and then the AI was recognizing that it was almonds and then telling him how many proteins that was.
I think that was total nonsense. The journalist in me is like, how many almonds did he have? Did they see the ones under it? Like, how much did those almonds weigh? I think that Brianna, I am there. I am a huge Star Trek fan. I think this is cool. It's a future I want. It's not a future I believe in.
Really?
They're self-serious. No, I'm not saying ever. I just am very skeptical of Humane and of this product. I don't think they're bad people. I just think that this is trying to sell us a science fiction future, and I don't think we're there yet.
Well, that is a lot of what these days billionaires seem to be trying to sell us. Is some book that they read when they were 18 and they've been working their whole life toward
the self-seriousness of the self-seriousness of the presentation doesn't help. It just triggers all of my journalists like, oh, I have questions for you. I'm sure they're nice people, and they have working on a really cool problem. I think that this would be fascinating. And we do normalize all sorts of technology, and I think this could be normalized very quickly. I'm just very skeptical.
I think there's a couple of things that people brought up that were really interesting, which was many people, when they saw the demo at first, were like, well, a smartwatch could do the same thing. It might have more apps on it, it might have more things, but all the things that this projector does in a blurry way on your hand, you could also do in a smartwatch. And it would be, the display would be much more higher resolution, and you could interact with it and tap it and whatnot. The other thing then is smart glasses and eventually AR glasses could do many of those same things too. So the form factor might be the worst about this, I would say. And the projection didn't, I mean, I haven't seen it, and few people have seen it, and I think nobody has really been able to try
That's another thing. They didn't allow technical journalists to attend. So people who would ask questions like that, what's the processor? What's the battery life?
Right.
What, like,
we know now it's a Qualcomm Snapdragon.
Yeah, it's a Qualcomm. Yeah, but which one?
I think I've seen, but you know what? I'll stipulate that. I think you're right. I mean, I don't think anybody, maybe Brianna, but I don't think anybody's thinking that this is, oh my God, the next thing I got to have. But I think what's very, and I don't even think you're thinking that, Brianna. I think what's interesting is the area that we're starting to explore and how close we might be to something that really is useful. This isn't it, maybe. But do you think, you've got, it's kind of interesting because Sam Altman is working with Johnny Ive to create some sort of AI phone device. You've got Rewind working on a pendant that records all the time. I've shown this before, new.computer. This is the dot, which is not yet a device. They want to make it a device, but right now it's an AI that records everything you experience so you can call it up later. And I do see some value in this. Yeah. That's what an AI should be. It should be an assistant. Just I think of my car, the self-driving features of my car. I don't have a Tesla, but the self-driving features of my car, I would never trust to drive me home if I were asleep or drunk. But they're very helpful to me as a driver, as an assistant.
Sure.
That to me seems like a more fruitful area to explore.
I guess, I mean, Dan, I'm being really clear. Like my expectations are very tempered. I understand like a lot of these tech demo stuff when it's like add this to this or look through my calendar. I understand that's all BS, right?
Yeah, and I'm being a jerk.
Sure.
I mean,
well, just 1 second.
You're doing your job, Dan. God bless you.
I mean, I understand that is hyped up. And, earlier I was talking about AI being more of a flavor in the technology that we use. Like, once that works, Siri will actually be worth more than just transcribing stuff while I'm driving, right? We all agree with that. But I'm saying I don't regret getting early VR headsets because it was a really interesting view into an interesting area of technology. I don't regret getting a Palm Pilot. Some things really work out. Like I don't regret getting a Steam Deck, right?
I regret every single VR headset I purchased. Every single one.
Fair enough. Space Pirate Trainer was pretty good. But my point is we all agree that the promises here are demo hype. We've all been in technology long enough to know that. Do you not think there's going to be enough use here that I can walk around for a day and leave my phone at home if I'm out with my nieces and trust that my phone calls will come through? And if I need to say, hey, I've got a meeting, I can look at that or look up a stat and figure, because I imagine it will do that.
I think some of this also is they're betting that people are going to start to reject the ubiquitous smartphone screen. And I have to say, I hope that's true, because just wander around any city in America and everybody's staring at their device. Yeah. And I think that they're thinking, and they might be right, there'll be kind of a reaction to that people say, let's not have a screen that we're constantly looking at.
Brianna, you said the word addiction. Sorry, go ahead, Janko.
I think there's many things that we don't know about this device yet, but from what we know, it doesn't seem to replace the smartphone in many aspects. Like even taking photos, and I don't think they really showed that off during the demo. But if you don't have a viewfinder and it's sort of attached to your chest or wherever, you're just shooting from the hip essentially. When you're going out with your niece, maybe you actually want to have a chance to take a photo that's meaningful to you and not something that's just randomly taken by something that like bounces around on your clothing, right? So I don't know if it is able to replace the phone quite yet. And I think actually maybe that's not the best, like when smart watches first came up, people were also like, oh yeah, and I don't need to take out my phone all that often. That didn't really turn out to be the argument why people bought smartwatches. People bought smartwatches because they're great health assistants, right? They help you track heart rates and all those things.
And they need a phone.
That's something that the phone can't do.
Right.
And so the thing, like saying, oh, I have this device that can do things slightly better than my phone can do, but it also has all these downsides, may not be the best way to position and sell it.
Let's be honest. I mean, the smartphone could do much of the. I mean, if I carried it in my pocket, or
there you go, you
got
my
vest,
right there.
I could do many of the same things, right? And much more capability built in, much higher processing capability, and I had a screen if I want to. I think this is incremental steps. To me, the biggest story, and we're gonna move on in a sec, but I think the biggest story here is how fast this seems to be, not just moving, because stuff moves fast, but it's almost alive in the way it's adapting itself and moving in a direction to fit what we're going to end up needing. And maybe I'm ascribing a little humanity to AI that it doesn't deserve, but it does feel like this is moving along in an interesting way and slowly getting better suited to what we actually want an AI to do. Does that make sense?
Very fair. Yeah.
All right, I want to take a little break and got lots more to talk about. And I'm not going to drop the AI subject because we've got some experts here. It's really great to have them. Brianna Wu, who we now by the way, just have a full coloring book for Brianna Wu. I mean, Dali has been working overtime generating coloring pages for your coloring book, including this one which is Brianna on the panel today. I'm not sure if I'm the one with the crown or the beard, but you get the idea.
Yeah. I don't think I can pull that look off. It's not me.
It's great to have you. RebellionPack.com. Also with us, Janko Roettgers, who is now doing his own thing at lowpass.cc, which I just subscribed to, maybe even for the second time. It's so good.
I think for the second time, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Really great stuff. I appreciate your reporting so much, Janko, that I don't mind paying for it twice. It's that good. That. Yeah. And Dan Patterson is also here, who is now working as Director of Content and Communication at Blackbird, which is is it a nonprofit? It's a very interesting company.
No, we're a regular company, but we do work with nonprofits and government organizations.
It's about disinformation and attacks that can harm both your company or a nation. And you couldn't be on a better covering a more timely subject, I think. This is going to be the year of disinformation.
Unfortunately.
Sad to say. Our show today brought to you by ExpressVPN. We know our audience wants to protect itself, its privacy, its security online. We know that because you tell us that, and because so many of you use ExpressVPN, the only VPN I use. Have you ever browsed in incognito mode? You know what a joke that is? It ain't incognito. Incognito mode, it's from Google. It's in the Chrome browser. Google makes its fortune by tracking your movements and interests online. They're an advertising company. In fact, there's even a $5 billion class action lawsuit against Google in California because they said incognito mode ain't so incognito. Google's defense, they said, well, incognito doesn't mean invisible. Well, if you want to make yourself invisible online, you need a good VPN. You need ExpressVPN. Even when you're in incognito mode, as you know, incognito mode really only means don't let my spouse see what I'm up to. Your online activity is tracked. Data brokers can still buy and sell your data. Your ISP knows what you're doing. Google knows what you're doing. Every site you log into does. And one of the ways they know you're you is your one and only unique IP address. That's the tool they can use to match you. Even if you log out of your Google account, your IP address doesn't change unless you use a VPN. Data harvesters can use your IP address to uniquely identify you and your location. But when you're using ExpressVPN, your IP address isn't your IP address. You're going through the encrypted ExpressVPN server with the IP address for that server. And many others use that same IP address. So good luck, buddies, tracking me. Every time you can connect to ExpressVPN, you get a random IP address shared by other ExpressVPN customers. There are many other reasons you'd want to use ExpressVPN. Not just security and an open access point and privacy wherever you are, but also eliminating geographic restrictions so you can watch Netflix in other countries. ExpressVPN has servers in almost 100 different countries. And that's the beauty of ExpressVPN. It works wherever you are with whatever you're using, your phone, your laptop, even things like a smart TV. They even sell routers, or you can put it on existing routers so your whole home is protected. And then you just tap one button and you are private. You are safe. ExpressVPN invests in their network. This is another reason I love them. They're fast. You can watch HD video on ExpressVPN. And in fact, when I use ExpressVPN, sometimes I forget to turn it off. And there's been times I've looked and I've been using it for months without even knowing it's that fast. It does not slow you down. So if you want to go incognito, if you want to protect your privacy, secure yourself with the #1 rated VPN. Visit expressvpn.com/twit. You'll get 3 extra months for free with a 1-year package. expressvpn.com/twit. Go to expressvpn.com/twit to learn more. It's the only one I use, ExpressVPN. Back to the program. I feel like I haven't completely done everything there is to say about OpenAI's dev days. They cut the cost dramatically for developers. That's good news. It also, I presume, means they're more efficient. Either that or they're just eating the cost, which is possible too.
I have to assume they've gotten that is such an important priority for them to get the cost of the access tokens down. I think it was 2 shows ago when I was on Leo, we were talking about this independent Reddit app that a lot of Redditors used to basically access Reddit and do the moderation since the internal tools suck so much. And Reddit jacked those costs up so high that basically this piece of software was dying. Right. People take this unlimited access to databases for granted. It's not. It costs the developer something. It costs the person hosting the database something. So I think getting those costs down, I think that's really, really exciting as far as the ability of this to get more widespread adoption. And I think it speaks to this more specialized hardware that Microsoft has been developing for this.
Speaking of the Reddit protest, that's right. We talked a lot about it when you were on a few times ago. It didn't accomplish anything, did it?
No.
It's over, right?
Yeah.
And as much as I didn't want to admit it, Steve Huffman was right. It'll blow over. Do you still use Reddit?
Yeah.
I feel bad for
I'm
Apollo.
also not a
It's
moderator.
gone.
So,
and I don't know how the mods feel. Some of them have been booted. I note that a couple of the Reddit subreddits I go to are still marked NSFW, which was their protest. But honestly, the protest made a lot of noise, but a lot of heat. But I don't think any was accomplished. Dan, you disagree?
No, I think that it blew over.
It just blew over. That makes me sad because I do think Reddit kind of forgot that it's made of people, that its users, just like Twitter, its users are what puts it on the map. What makes it useful. But
it's only anecdotal. Some of the subreddits I used to follow they seem pretty dead now, but some seem just as lively and popping as they were before, which is probably
and at least one Reddit app that I used to use, I really liked Apollo, and I think that's a real loss. And the Reddit's own app is okay, but not great. But one of the apps I used to use for a long time was called Narwhal. It's back. With a subscription. So they released Narwhal 2, and you have to pay, I think, a few bucks a month for it. but it's, it was always a decent Reddit app. So maybe that's what happened. I mean, I think maybe the guy who does Apollo, Christian Selig, maybe threw a tantrum, perhaps, and could have perhaps considered this outlet, or maybe he will make Apollo 2 and charge for it. And I think if people are very serious about using Reddit, it might be worth it. I pay Reddit too because I want to support them. I have a paid subscription to Reddit. But yeah, maybe there is a solution.
Yeah, I just think when it comes to AI, getting that tokenized cost way down, I mean, it means you're going to have smaller developers able to use the platform. It means you could conceivably see smartphone apps from third party. You could see people really ask big questions, right? Like here's a really good one. I have email coming out of my ears and my nose, and
if it could solve the email problem.
And I love Hey. Hey is a really good product. I understand, their company is increasingly problematic for a lot of different views, but they make a good email service. I mean, I would move to someone that had AI baked into email to help me just understand it and remember what I've got to reply to quickly. That's a billion-dollar company right there. So getting those costs down, I think this is like the biggest consumer win there. Like the coloring books are fun, Leo. That's where the money is from this.
What's hidden from us is how much each of these pages cost.
Yeah.
Sam Altman said back in the beginning of ChatGPT, back in the 3.0 version, that it was 10 times the cost of a Google query. I imagine it's at least that now, but yeah. And Google made a big deal about getting these shrunk down so they can be run off the phone. That's another thing that I think people want. I think people are a little allergic to sending their data to the cloud, but if you could have an on-device AI, I'm not going to use her until I can make sure her doesn't share my everything with the outside world.
It might be a stretch to call it an AI, but Siri on the Apple Watch 9 is better. And I could see, all the processing is done on the watch.
Is it better? Interesting.
I mean, it's better than previous versions of Siri,
like
on
the
the
transcription
watch.
Or what features?
The general performance.
You can just talk to it and it understands
the
you.
lack of bugs.
Yeah.
Well, I routinely, until this version of the watch, Siri just wouldn't. Often it would just say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with that."
Right.
Yes. But these,
it's true.
So that's what I mean by better. But all I'm saying is, I'm kind of reaffirming what you're saying, Leo, is that if this is processed locally. Yeah, that's a solution.
There's another dark side to AI. You talked about it on your in a couple of articles and on your podcast. Synthetic media. We've seen stories about in high schools about high school boys making deep fake nudes of their classmates, which is not against the law, but sure is awful. What is against the law, I think, because I've seen people arrested for it, is deep fake child porn, even though no kid is involved. We've just begun.
I think these.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
No. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, did you see the story about this is a little dark, and so I apologize, but did y'all see the story about the young girl that basically a bunch of her classmates made deepfake pornography of her and a whole bunch of other girls in her grade? I mean, this is nightmare stuff. I mean, I think a lot of adult women in the technology industry have had this done to them, but we're talking about children. Like, this is a huge violation, and I really wonder how that's going to affect their brain and their self-esteem and their trust.
I feel so bad for the girls because they had nothing to do with it. I also understand. Right. I mean, teenage boys are.
I remember.
They don't. They got no frontal lobe. Basically, they got no impulse control. So if that technology exists, they're going to do it without regard to the consequences. I'm sure they're thinking about it. It's happened in numerous high schools now. That's the sad thing.
What's the Captain Kirk line? Like, there's nothing wrong with him that's not wrong with the original model. Like, it's not going to change.
So. It's not exactly a crime. That's part of the problem.
Well, I think it speaks to how, I mean, we kind of put these tools out there, and again, we never asked how they could be really misused to hurt people. And
well,
I think it does.
Technology outpaces our ability to legislate. I mean, that's obvious, right?
That's fair, but I think let's look at the coloring book prompt you just had made, right? Like they went through, they're like, look, Brianna was a public figure. Let's leave her out of this.
Yeah, I like
Probably
that.
a good
right?
policy, right?
Yeah.
So I think you can think through these things, and I think it doesn't speak to a lot of the people that develop deepfake technology that they didn't put any real safeguards in it, or even ways to detect it after the fact.
I just finished Taylor Lorenz's Extremely Online,
Isn't that great?
which is a retelling of our recent history. We just lived the mid-aughts, the inception of social media, mobile phones, and it feels as though, at least when I was at CBS, I spent time on the Facebook papers. It was one of the last things I did there. And a lot of that was not just some of the toxicity that was created by unmoderated or loosely moderated social apps, but it is and Brianna, of course, you know about this. I experienced quite a bit of this as well, but we have an opportunity right now to learn these lessons and to apply these lessons. Are we doing it? I don't know, but this opportunity is right now. It appears as though we're going to relive recent history.
Yeah.
In 2019, speaking of recent history, researchers concluded 96% of the 14,000 deep fakes they found online were pornographic.
That was in 2019, before generative AI.
That was before deep fakes were any good.
Yeah, it was hard. It was really expensive and hard to create deep fakes in 2019.
And already the vast majority were pornographic. I think humans, this is the other side of it. We are not to be trusted with advanced technologies, and yet we're very good at creating them. That's why I was talking before the show, and maybe a little facetiously, I was saying to Brianna that I despair over our future. If almost, you know what it feels like to me? You always wonder why we are not visited by alien species. I think if a civilization gets to this point, and all of them have to before they can be spacefaring, I would imagine, they destroy themselves. It's like that we never get to that spacefaring Star Trek time because we cannot survive with advanced technology.
Fermi paradox solution, right?
Talking about dark, right?
All alien species either go internal into VR or they destroy themselves first.
Yeah. Or, as Nick Bostrom says, it's all just a simulation anyway.
Right.
Boy.
I don't know. I shouldn't be. I am dark.
I worry,
Welcome.
Leo. I've been coming on TWiT for a long time.
I used to be an
Feels like
optimist.
every year
Yeah.
you get so much more cynical.
I think I get
feel
smarter.
Like the longer I've had my job, I feel less and less cynical.
Which is weird because you're on the front. I mean, you're on the front lines of the dysfunctional American government, and you're optimistic.
I am.
Weird.
It's not that I
weird?
don't see problems. It's that I see the efforts to solve it, and it's iterative. Like, the real truth is, Leo, we're seeing the end right now of a certain chapter of government that started with.
You mean the old people? The really, really old ones?
I don't mean the old people.
Okay.
I mean, there was an era of people leading both parties that ended with Bush 2 and started with Obama. And no matter what happens at the end of this year, that era of both parties is going to be over after this. And I think there are new people standing up. There's new leadership structures being done. And like some of the people I'm working with that are, federally elected officials, they really get this stuff, right? So I see them really working to have a bigger voice in how things are going. And it does give me a lot of hope.
That's why I have you on, because you give me hope.
All right.
Leo, you are an optimist, and that's one of the things that I think is very attractive. It's one reason it's fun to come on this show, because
Yes.
you are an optimist, and I think it's one big reason that people listen to this show.
Yeah.
They care about
So are you counseling?
and your
Are you
optimism.
counseling me that I should stop talking dark and start living? I should turn into Richard
No.
Simmons.
No.
I am. You know what? Here's my real. When I'm not being facetious and I'm really thinking about it, humans are simultaneously capable of great good and great evil, and it's all within the same person. It's not like they're bad, they're good. We create the finest music and art, and architecture, deep thinking, scientific discovery that is mind-boggling. At the very same time, we simultaneously make deep fake pornography of our high school classmates. I mean, we are capable of both. And I don't know if one is going to win out over the other. I don't think it doesn't. I think it's always looked like this, that there's an amazing depth to our depravity and our inhumanity at the same time as this amazing goodness in us. And it's a weird paradox. And I think it's always been that way.
I think one of the things we're wrestling with at a societal level right now is technology is turning a lot of us into the worst versions of ourselves. It just is.
That's
right?
kind of my fear, is that it has been balanced all along. But what's happened is we've weaponized these technologies.
Yeah.
We clearly weaponized social media. I mean, and that's now the end of it, right? It's gotten to be dismal.
And I hear you on that, Leo. I think that, I think that when you get older, I'm in my 40s and you see that things move in phases, right? And I genuinely do think there's going to be a moment that either like a conversation I see universally online right now by people on the right and the left is they're just tired of the hyperbole online. And I see a huge movement to just marginalize the people on both sides that just take everything out of context and scream at you about it all day long. I see a huge momentum towards shutting those people down.
Good.
I see the people that are gaining power in my field in new media are the ones that go through and really critically examine claims and really look into that rather than just saying what the audience wants to hear. There's a huge growing market for that point of view on YouTube right now. People are turning into multimillionaires, like offering that point of view. So I think that at some point, we're going to look at this era of human history the same way that we looked at some of the darkest periods of American history before us, where the worst of ourselves did take over. And I think we're going to find a way to get past it.
And you don't think this is an exception, this era that we're in? This is just another phase.
I think it is a phase. I think it's going to come to an end. Humans can't keep living like this. It's too stressful.
Janko, are you an optimist or a pessimist, or do you just don't pay any attention to it?
I am a realist.
Yeah, you're German. You have to be. That's your job.
It's hard to be an optimist these days, especially like just the last couple of weeks, obviously. Generally, looking at technology, I want to be an optimist, but there is also a lot going wrong. So you have to strike a balance. And I understand getting bogged down and seeing like the dark sides of it, and getting sort of frustrated by those or depressed by those, for sure.
Well, and ultimately, we've got to do something about climate change, or there isn't going to be much more to talk about. And that's why when you bring, and I think it was very germane, Dan, you bring up the energy cost of AI. We can ill afford to be burning energy like this.
Or to be focused on these hand-wavy existential problems. Sorry, Fred the dog is...
Oh, I like Fred. Don't. Fred.
He's a good dog.
He's a good dog. He's okay. Don't worry about Fred.
Deeply concerned about the energy costs of ChatGPT.
He's very much got a dog in this hunt, as they say. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
I don't know. You know what? I want to be cheered up. Thank you for saying I'm an optimist, Dan, because I don't feel very optimistic these days. Let's cheer up and talk about Venom Pinball.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but first, a word from our sponsor. I just made somebody very, very happy, I think. Our show today brought to you by Nureva, N-U-R-E-V-A, meeting room audio. Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. In the dark, dim days of huddle rooms, meeting rooms, conference rooms, you would have very expensive, I mean stunningly expensive systems installed by, teams of technicians. Then, by the way, the technicians never leave because they also have to configure and maintain them at great expense. And the audio, let's face it, wasn't that good. Well, forget those days of so-called pro audio for your huddle room. You can get Nureva and get better sound than ever before. Just ask the pros at Duquesne University. They have 100 Nureva devices installed in their classrooms, their lecture rooms, and their meeting rooms. One of their senior technologists said, "I can't say enough," this is a direct quote, "about how impressed I am. Audio's been my life work for 30 years. I'm amazed at what a Nureva mic and speaker bar will do." Let me explain what Nureva is. It looks like a sound bar. Inside, microphones using a patented technology called the microphone mist technology, which puts thousands of virtual microphones throughout your meeting room. Microphones in every corner so that people can be faced any way. They can be under a table. They can be on a table. They can be facing away from the screen. They can face towards the screen, and you can hear them all clearly. These days, you need Nureva. Many businesses are going remote. They're still hybrid. And Nureva, we've talked about it before, but they've just made another leap forward with the introduction of their Pro Series for really big rooms. The HDL 310 for large rooms, 30 by 30. And the HDL 410 for even larger rooms, 35 by 55. That's feet, kids. For the first time, you can get pro audio performance and plug-and-play simplicity in the same system. Nureva continues to amaze IT pros with the Pro Series. Their online demo, just go to nureva.com/twit. You can see the online demo. You got the Nureva guy. He's under a table. He's behind a pillar. He's moving all over, and you can hear him beautifully, clearly. It's pickup performance that most conventional systems can't even match. And if you did put 100 microphones in the room, then you'd have to consider cleaning them, wrapping up all the cables, the cost. Let's talk coverage. The HDL 410, that's for rooms from 35 to 55 feet. Now, for that, you got 2 mics and 2 speaker bars. Great for an extra-large meeting room. Duquesne uses them for lecture halls with 2 discrete wall-mounted devices. But here's something even better. You can actually, it could be one of those divisible rooms where you slide a divider across. The Nureva senses that, and now they're independent. You open up the divider, they work together. It's kind of cool. A unified coverage map processes mic pickup from both devices. They do it simultaneously and, in effect, create a giant single mic array. And then you close the divider, and it's 2 separate devices. For a simple 30-foot by 30-foot room, a single HDL 310 with 1 mic and speaker bar is all you need. And these are as easy to install as a sound bar. 30 minutes. You could do it yourself. If 30 minutes per. So if you get a 410, it takes 60 minutes, right? 30 minutes for each. They continuously auto-calibrate, so there's you don't have to go from room to room and tune them up. Nureva Audio automatically and continuously adapts to the changes in the room's acoustic profile. What's cool about that is you can add more people. More students come to a class, all of a sudden it just adjusts itself. People leave, it adjusts itself. And with the Nureva console, your IT team doesn't even have to go to the room. It's a cloud-based device management platform that takes the pain out of tasks like firmware updates and checking device statuses and changing settings and more. Bottom line, with the Pro Series, Nureva makes it simple to quickly and cost-effectively equip more of your spaces for remote collaboration. Learn more at nureva.com/twit, nureva.com/twit. This is such a good solution. Listen to the demo, and you'll get an idea. nureva.com/TWiT. All right, you wanted to talk about the Venom pinball. You tried to get me. What was that one you tried to get me to buy? The Godzilla one?
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Godzilla. Best pinball game of all time.
This is as good?
Okay, so this is why I wanted to talk about this, because pinball is something that's really hard to innovate on, right? It's kind of been the same for a really, really long time. And Stern is like the Microsoft of pinball. They're the main game in town, and they put out this game design that is super, super innovative and using a ton of new technology.
Wait a minute. It looks like there's a TV screen on it, like a video screen on it.
Yeah. Most modern pinball games have like a DMD on it, a screen
that's just
with
for
like
scores.
images and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It shows like cutscenes and all that stuff.
Nice.
But they've really innovated in the way that this game works.
There's Venom going up a little slider. You got the...
That's Carnage. Carnage is going up the sliders.
Ooh.
Yes. See, you need to watch the movie. But what makes this really, really interesting is so it's not just a game that you play and you try to get a high score. They mixed pinball with a roguelike design. So a roguelike is a kind of video game where you always start at level 1 and you play until you die and you like get some points to level ups and stuff. It is easier and easier. And then eventually you can beat the entire game, right? So that's what this is. You're constantly leveling up Venom as you play. You're trying to beat Null at the end. Yeah.
Does it get harder as you play it?
No, it gets easier. This is a game that anyone can beat if you play this game long enough. This is the friendliest game Stern has ever designed for new players.
Because I'm not a pinball pro like you. I'm not a pinball wizard like Tommy. Oh my God, is that 4 balls? That's crazy.
It'll have 8 for some.
8?
But this is the thing is with this. This is where it's so similar, Leo, to. Do you know how sometimes tech will put out a product and the old guard hates it? Like people that love technology hate it, but normal people love it because it's easy to use. That is Venom Pinball. This is a game for new players. So like existing pinball players hate this game and new players think it's just the most addictive game design they've ever seen.
See, this would be for me then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great.
And how much?
It's very expensive, like all pinball is. You're going to be spending between $8,000 and $10,000.
Do you have one of these?
I do. I love it.
Are you a paid shill for Stern?
No. I just love this as a hobby. Pinball is a really interesting hobby.
You are not in any way, just to make this clear, being compensated
100%
by Stern. This is not an ad. This is just you love it.
I just love the game. The thing is with pinball, you can buy a pinball machine and play it for a year and sell it and take like $1,000 loss. So it's not the worst thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really interesting game design, and they're mixing it with like this online mode for it that is just really forward thinking.
Should I get this instead of the Godzilla?
No, I think you'd probably like Godzilla.
Sorry, it doesn't really matter.
At least
Lisa's already forbidden.
The city.
She's already forbidden both, so there's not really an issue here. Just asking for a friend.
You and Lisa can come to my house and play my version.
That's a better idea. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. We might be out your way sometime soon. We want to do that. Yeah, my mom, is just down the road in Rhode Island.
You've got to do it. Come on out.
Come
Let's
out
party.
and visit.
You can party with the woos.
Party with the woos. What does Frank think of Dolly illustrations like these cartoons, these drawing books that we're creating of you?
He has 4 Hugo Awards. He's horrified by all of this.
Yeah, he's a super artist. In fact, I texted you because I was at the Popular Culture Museum in Seattle, Paul Allen's former Experience Music Project. And there's art by Frank Wu in the museum on the wall. Yeah. And I said, look, Frank's in the museum. And you said, yeah.
He's really talented. He's a good guy.
And so his attitude is what? I mean, are these a threat?
Yeah, he sees it as a threat. I mean, it's been helpful for him to kind of have ideas and like mock them up when he's been working.
Yeah, I would think there'd be some value to that. Yeah.
But I mean, obviously illustrators are very worried. Like Frank's last book that he wrote, I'm not going to tell you how much he paid for the cover, but it's a really good professional looking cover. It's called Espionage. And, like you pay that amount of money. And I have to admit, my first thought is, how can you make a living doing this? Right.
Well, and the temptation might be to turn to Dolly to do the next one, right?
100%. So very scary stuff.
If you are an illustrator, this is It's probably kind of scary. Oh yeah,
100%.
that's a good cover.
Yeah.
Regime Change, a psychic
Isn't that
CIA
beautiful?
novel. Yeah, this makes me want to buy the book. See, that's why it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because I go, hey, that's cool. It's about ESP. It's about Washington, D.C. I got to read this. It's about the old people reading each other's minds. You see it all. The cover says it all. And I bet you, I don't know if Dolly could do this. I wouldn't be surprised. That's what's scary if I'm an illustrator.
But I mean, when we were trying to get it to do concepts, I mean, it came up with a lot of stuff that was similar. It didn't.
Yeah,
have
last
that
time we
level of
talked, you said
polish.
Frank was using it to give him kind of generate ideas to get him
That's right.
stimulated to write. It was like a writer's block breaker.
That's exactly it. And then you kind of refine it. I mean, science fiction is dealing with this right now. You had one of their major online sites that had to stop accepting entries from anyone they didn't already know because it was being deluged with AI submissions. Right. So this is a very real problem.
In fact, the publisher just got a Hugo Award for his good fight.
Good for him.
Yeah. I was looking at the Hugo Awards the other day, and I noticed that he, let's see, I don't know what the category was. Well, he got best
Clark's World.
Yeah, Neil
it?
Clark.
Yeah.
He got best editor short form, but I think that they acknowledged, one of the reasons they acknowledged his fight against AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else here? Bad news. Mozilla did a very good piece some time ago about your vehicle and privacy, and you have none. And the vehicle is pretty much collecting everything you're doing in it. In fact, Mozilla's headline was, "It's official, cars are the worst product category we've ever reviewed for privacy." All 25 car brands we researched earned our privacy not included warning label. They not only collect personal data, they actually can collect data about when you're having sex. What? And there is no law against it. In fact, it's kind of worse than that. A judge in Washington State dismissed a class action lawsuit against car makers. The lawsuit used Washington's pretty strong privacy legislation. The federal judge said, yeah, you're right. The cars are keeping everything, your text messages, your call logs, but you can't sue because you can't show any harm. Plaintiff's allegation that a violation of the WPA, the Washington Privacy Act, itself is enough to satisfy injury to a person without more is insufficient to meet the statutory requirement. Where is the harm? The judge said. I guess your Boxster is probably not collecting data on you, Brianna. Maybe that's why you like old cars.
I honest to God mean this. I understand Lauren Southern is a controversial person on the other side, but we at least like each other. Like, she's on the right, I'm on the left. We were talking about this just yesterday on Twitter. She's horrified that this is happening. I'm horrified this is happening. And BMW is going to charge you to use your own heated seats. Do you really?
No, they backed down on that. They backed down.
Audi is talking about it now.
Before I bought it.
Audi is talking about it. Yes.
And everybody got so pissed off they decided not to do that.
Fair enough, but this is definitely coming for the car industry. Yeah. And if you don't think they're going to sell every single bit of data out there to make a few more bucks on you and work with law enforcement on this, you're just wrong. So, I'm off the new car train because of this.
From the Mozilla report, Nissan earned our second to last spot for collecting some of the creepiest categories of data we've ever seen. It's worth reading the review in full, but you should know it includes your sexual activity. Not to be outdone, Kia also mentions they can collect information about your sex life. It's in the privacy policy. Jeez. 6 car companies say they can collect your genetic information. or genetic characteristic. I don't even know how they would know. So
okay, but in reality, that's the question, though, right?
How would they know this?
Overly broad privacy policies to cover all their bases. But how does my phone know my sex life? Like, without my phone knowing it, how would my car get it from my phone? So is it an actual? I think there's something there where, like, if the car doesn't actually learn it, having it in a privacy policy that makes the privacy policy creepy, but not necessarily the car.
Yeah, that's a reasonable point to make. Although I don't think it's too far-fetched to think it would be possible to know quite a bit about your sex life just if you could get into the phone. I mean,
well, this right? Did they stipulate Android Auto or
no? They didn't. No, your phone.
So
well, to give you an example, your phone. Many people have programs on the phone for ovulation to track fertility. Right? Apple's Watch will do that. If your phone is connected to the car, and the car manufacturer can collect everything, it's really the phone has to prevent that. And I guess what the car manufacturers are saying, hey, if we can get it, it's okay. We warned you.
And the app makers and those services that you use really have to be more aware of what they're sharing on a system level with other services, with the service that they use for login and all those things. But yeah.
And now that the judge has ruled that there really is no harm for them to know that, it's kind of full speed ahead. I mean, I guess if we had a functional Congress, which we don't, Brianna.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Okay. I'm just saying, if we had a functional Congress, you might ask them to pass a law to further protect your privacy. Although Washington State did, and apparently it wasn't enough. It seems like there should be something done. The Mozilla report quotes Tesla's privacy notice. They say it's hard really to tell these car companies to turn this stuff off, this collection off. Tesla says, if you no longer wish for us to collect vehicle data or any other data from your Tesla vehicle, please contact us to deactivate connectivity. Okay. Please note, certain advanced features such as over-the-air updates, remote services, and interactivity with mobile applications, in-car features such as location search, internet radio, voice commands, and web browser functionality rely on this connectivity. If you choose to opt out of vehicle data collection, we will not be able to know or notify you of issues applicable to your vehicle in real time. This may result in your vehicle suffering from reduced functionality, serious damage, or inoperability.
I do have to say, cars should have a rental car mode that automatically resets itself after you return the car, and because everybody connects their phones to their rental cars, and then they never delete that until you get into your rental car. And there's all these past iPhones listed there with all this stuff.
I got into my rental car, and there's 20 other people. I actually had to delete somebody before I could pair my phone. They had filled it up.
Yeah.
And I made the point of deleting it when I got out of the car, by the way.
Yeah. No, but really think about how this could be used to like drag you into civil or even criminal litigation, right? How many times did you go to X place? Oh, you're in a custody battle with your ex. Hey, let's subpoena the data to see if you drive over the speed limit by 5 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Let's use that against you in court. Again, this is a theme, but ask yourself how someone really deranged could use this data against you. And it's really, really scary. I don't like these car companies collecting this data, and the only way forward is going to be like there are people on both sides of the aisle that have talked about proposing a privacy bill of rights. I think this would have very broad support across the right and the left, and we just need people that will put it out there. I understand that people in their 70s, 80s, like they're not really thinking about this stuff, but I think most people under 40 understand the value of this. Like we've grown up like digitally.
I think you're right. That's a good point. That's a good point. As you point out in our Discord, this spring, the FBI admitted, we've been buying location data.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's not because they're trying to market you stuff. Like they want to use that for court cases, right?
But what's the big deal? Ron Wyden asked Christopher Wray, the FBI director, does the FBI purchase U.S. phone geolocation information? Ray said, well, to my knowledge, we don't currently purchase commercial database information that includes location
we
data.
bought it all.
I understand that we previously, as in the past, purchased this information for a specific national security pilot project, but that's not been active for some time. So, well, that's good news. They're not doing it right now, right? We can trust that.
Not this very moment.
In the past could be yesterday. The problem is that courts have often ruled that this kind of pen register data, location data, and other stuff from your phone does not require a warrant. So again, this goes back to Congress.
Yeah. And for civil, like Brianna said, for civil litigation, this could be a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, not just civil. I try to get auto insurance. Well, we see you've been having sex in your car, so.
Or, a very real case of that could be, I always delete the Geico app from my phone or whatever I have, but now I don't have that option, right?
Yeah.
It's a very practical, very real world.
They're tracking you because you get a discount, though. You do get a discount, right, for safe driving?
No, I delete that app. I don't use that. I'll pay the extra money not to have that on my phone. But this is how they get around that.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't need to have the app, although it's great if they can. I guess, the more apps you have on your phone, the more likely somebody's keeping an eye on you. I kind of, honestly, I gave up. I'm not worried. You know what? Okay, let's talk TikTok.
No, I just said that
scum.
to trigger you.
Okay. Yes, my daughter uses TikTok. Actually.
Oh, boy.
That was a heck of a debate.
Wasn't that something? Huh? Wasn't that fun?
I couldn't. It's my own job, and I couldn't.
We were talking about the Republican debate in which Vivek Ramaswamy was talking about how bad TikTok was. And then Nikki Haley says, well, and then he says, well, your daughter uses it. She says, keep my daughter's mouth out of your voice. And then she calls him a scum. And that was the most exciting part of the whole debate. I think TikTok is a red herring, a straw man, because really the issue is data brokers, not TikTok, not the Chinese government using an app to surveil us. They do what the FBI does. They just go to the data broker. They don't need TikTok.
Or what Facebook does.
Yeah.
What any other app does.
Right. I
don't agree. I don't.
You think TikTok is a bad thing and should be banned?
No, that's not what I said. And I've said that on your show many times. What I do think is, Leo, something I am on the left, but I am not a communist. I'm just not. I've listened to their arguments. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand what they want to replace capitalism with. That's fine. But
to each according to his needs, from each according to his abilities is not a bad motto.
There we go. Okay. But there is just factual that there is an absolute explosion with two generations of Americans, especially Gen Z, that are phenomenally sympathetic towards towards communism, and they have a tendency towards looking at the world through if there's an anti-American view.
No, you
of
misunderstand me. I'm not defending the People's Republic of China.
Sure.
Or the Chinese, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party.
Sure.
Let's assume they're malicious and malevolent. That's fine. I'm just saying they don't need TikTok to get information about each and every U.S. citizen. There are people gladly selling that on the open market called data brokers.
I hear what you're saying, but I think if you look at, I spend a lot of time on TikTok nowadays for my job. And I think if you look at the stuff coming through.
Oh, propaganda.
Generally speaking, I personally believe they're tweaking that algorithm to promote certain ideas that are not in our national interest.
Oh,
Even say I have a tinfoil hat, but I absolutely believe it.
That's not a tinfoil hat. No.
Yeah.
You don't think they might use Twitter and Facebook for the same thing?
Of course, it's total spectrum warfare.
Okay. So why would banning TikTok fix anything?
I don't want to ban TikTok. I'm saying I think it's a vector for destabilizing the information space.
I mean, yes, but but we're surrounded by disinformation. That's how we began the show. We're in a flood of disinformation right now.
And it does seem that calls to ban TikTok only ever show up or get more traction when certain points of view bubble up. And, maybe younger people are more interested in alternative economic systems because they look at climate change and, conclude that this one isn't working.
Fair.
That might be
I
a fair
share
argument.
that. Yes.
So you don't need Chinese propaganda to arrive at some of those points of view, I think. And Josh Hawley, chiming in and saying, "Oh, we gotta ban TikTok because we don't like what young people think about the war in Gaza." It seems like really a straw man argument to me.
I agree with you, and I hear you on that. And I'm not saying let's leap to the most radical solutions. What I am saying is democracies have to be able to have conversations for us to have stability. And what I am saying that does really trouble me is there is a kind of disregard for democratic norms that I used to see on one side of the aisle, and I'm seeing a lot of it on my own side of the aisle lately. Not differing points of view, people that fundamentally are excusing violence and do not believe in democracy. And I do believe that, I think it's not crazy to believe that China is a little less personally invested in policing that stuff than, say, as bad as Facebook is, I think they want a functional democracy here in the United States. So I think it is a relevant question to ask who is controlling our information space.
Yes, it is. Okay. And oh, that's a fun noise.
So you probably saw the stories this week that Mark Zuckerberg personally killed any attempt to make Facebook more sensitive to. Well, let me see if I can find the story.
I thought you were going to say relevant.
Mark Zuckerberg personally rejected Meta's proposals to improve teen mental health. This is from court documents filed by Massachusetts in state court. Zuckerberg ignored or shut down top executives, including Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri and Nick Clegg, who's president of Global Affairs, who had asked Zuckerberg to do more to protect not the U.S. democracy, but 30 million teens who use Instagram. I don't think you're right. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg wants to undermine American democracy, but I do think Mark Zuckerberg wants to make as much money as he possibly can. Right. And teen mental health is not on his list of things to protect.
And then you have people like Elon Musk who maybe want to do both.
Yeah. Zuckerberg vetoed, according to the Massachusetts documents, a 2019 proposal that would have disabled Instagram's beauty filters, which, I think you could probably say contribute very much to body image issues with teenage girls. He wrote to his deputies in April 2020, so they got the smoking email saying, there's demand for the filters, and I have seen no data suggesting they're harmful. Man, maybe he's right. Well, I don't know.
That's not true. I mean, according to the Facebook papers, which leaked in 2021, they were very aware.
Yeah. Yeah. I bring it up only, it is a story this week, but I bring it up also to say, I'm not sure that Elon or Mark or any social media executives' motives are any purer than TikTok's. Do you think there's Israeli or Hamas propaganda and disinformation being disseminated on TikTok?
Yeah, I think it's across all social media. Yeah. I don't think it's just on one side. I think the goal is to destabilize. Right. I think the goal is to pit us against each other.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And has been for a long time, not just by one adversary, many.
Yeah.
I honestly think that all social networks are prone to this, right? This is kind of...
the best social app I have on my phone is no social app. You would be shocked at the amount of time you can reclaim and mental health you can reclaim by not having social media on your phone or not using social media.
I actually went back
Which is silly.
to
that
Facebook.
Makes me sound like the old man.
No. I went back to Facebook because I thought, for this very reason, I should keep an eye just as I do on TikTok and other places, on what's going on there. I have yet to see something that I would, maybe I'm just insensitive, label as propaganda from the Chinese government designed to undermine American democracy. Brianna, actually, I'd love to know what you saw that you thought did that. But I got to say, Facebook is crapalicious. I spent all morning this morning getting rid of bikini-clad women that I in no way followed. Oh, there's some. Here they come. And even though I tell Facebook again and again that I do not want to see this image or any, my friends' images are in here. I want to see them. I don't care about this. And they still, I told you I don't want to see Anne Hathaway fans this morning.
I want to see Anne Hathaway. I'll watch that.
So apparently, I say this all the time. I say hide all from whatever, and they come back. Like I did it this morning. I don't want to see some God. AI Jennifer Lawrence bikini shot. So I'm going to have to start blocking, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
I would like to know what their strategy with the Blue app is.
Why do they do this? Why are they doing this to me? Is it because I'm a 67-year-old white male from Petaluma? What's the deal? This is a brand new account. This is not like I've given a signal that I want to see more of this. In fact, the strongest signal I've given is please hide all posts from boats and babes. Please, from now on.
Yeah,
I don't know how people use this horrible thing.
No, it's really been my exact experience with it. Especially with the Reels feature when they were really promoting that, where it would just start and like loop, and be some 5-second like clip of something sexual and shocking, and you can't stop looking at it.
Here's the story of the day. Be prepared to see 90-year-old Collins in a bikini. I don't know. What? Now this really is like, this must be targeted, right? Oh, yeah. you want to see older women in bikinis.
There we go.
Nope. And is that really the story of the day?
Hi, Leo. This is
Benito.
Benito.
There's a way to get to your feed, to like the old feed where it was just your friends, but it's like 3 clicks away.
Oh, so it's a setting.
You have to go to feeds on the left.
Okay, good. Benito, he's a young person. Benito Gonzalez, who is our technical director. Friends.
That's it. And that's just your friends.
And will it remember that?
No, you have to keep going here. That's what I'm saying. That's how to get to that.
But I could probably bookmark this.
Yeah.
I'll bookmark this instead of Facebook, and then it would only be people I know.
And ads.
And ads is all right. I understand ads. We do ads. In fact, I'm about to do another ad. Nothing wrong with ads, my friends. But I don't understand why they're peppering me with thirst traps. It must work. Is it just me? I'm taking it personally. It's clear that they're all talking to each other. So I bought a Timex wristwatch. I'm doing a retreat in a couple of weeks. I actually won't be here for the next 3 weeks. I'll explain that later another time. But I'm doing a retreat in a couple of weeks, and I can't wear an Apple wristwatch because I had no technology. I'm not allowed to bring a phone, computer, or even an Apple wristwatch. So I bought a Timex watch on Amazon. A $30 Timex watch. So I'd have a non-technological watch. I now get nothing. My Instagram feed is all watch ads. I bought it on Amazon. My Instagram feed is now all watch ads. You can't tell me they're not sharing information with each other. What did I do to give that away?
I'm disappointed you didn't get an 80s Casio watch.
I would have.
It's a real missed opportunity.
I would have.
Right there.
My wife's saying it used to be ED ads. What happened? Well, I think it's an improvement. Now I'm getting watch ads. It's very strange. It's like I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. You wanted to see the watch ads. Benito pulled up my phone. No, they're there. Trust me. All right. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little personal, a little too intimate here, a little overshare. Oh, you're right. James in Las Vegas says it's because you bought bikinis on Amazon. No, I didn't buy bikinis on Amazon. Brianna, I have that watch.
I love that watch so much.
And I just checked it. I'm looking at it, and it still works. I have a Casio.
Then you should use that.
I should probably. I bought this on.
Not?
I didn't get this. I bought this on eBay a few years ago, and it's still working. Should I wear that?
So just so people at home know, if you're listening to this, this is the 80s Casio watch.
I literally
with a
have
little
this
keypad on it.
Yeah.
And do you remember this where you'd have to enter in your contacts? It would be like L for Leo, it would be like 999.
Yeah.
Right. It was so awful to input stuff in.
I wonder
but
if
it was great.
They might rule this technology.
No.
They shouldn't. It's not good technology. It's not the kind of technology you might want.
Not good technology.
Yeah.
It's like
this
Battlestar
was good
Galactica.
technology.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of technology on this ship. It's just not networked.
Yes, it's offline. Yes.
I bet you that watch lasts longer than the watch you're wearing right now.
It you know what? I was stunned. I pulled it out of my drawer. I bought it as a gag, and it's still working. Years later.
It's going to outlive your iWatch.
All right, I will wear it next show. I'll wear it. I'll show it off. It's very cool. Yeah. Oh God, didn't you want this when you were young? Like this was and these were expensive, weren't they?
Oh yeah, it was like $50.
Oh, okay. They weren't that expensive. I remember the first calculators. They were hundreds of dollars. It was a big deal. This was back in the slide rule era. Anyway.
Oh my God, these are $200 on eBay right now.
Oh wow, that's where I got mine. I don't think maybe I did. I don't think I spent $200.
Good. Make me a deal, Leo. Make me a deal.
I'll send you mine. I'll wear it on Tuesday.
$60.
Well, you know what it is? Somebody's saying it's the anti-Kevin Rose. It's like, yeah, I'm so hip. I have an 80s Casio calculator watch.
No, I think it would be like back in the day, it was kind of geeky. Like if there was a dude that was wearing one today, I would genuinely beeline to go talk to him because that's going to be someone interesting.
I should have worn that to work today. I should have worn it. Darn it. All right, let's take a break. Lots more to come. I'm going to try to draw Janko out of his shell. We're going to come up with some stories you want to talk about. The great Janko Roettgers is here. Lowpass.cc. When you were at Variety, it was Variety, right? Or was it Hollywood Reporter? Variety, right?
Variety and then Protocol, yeah.
And Protocol. But when you were in Variety, you were kind of doing tech entertainment stuff, right? Like this SAG strike would have been a big story for you.
I mean, there would have been other people covering that because they have been covering sort of Hollywood for a long time. Obviously, that's what they're known for. I was more on the tech and entertainment intersection. So
right.
I was writing all about VR and some stuff about virtual productions and all those fun things.
You still pay attention to that, or have you been glad to give it up?
No. I mean, I still cover VR and AR and all those things for my newsletter, and yeah.
Good. Well, I'm going to ask you because I want to know if I should buy one of them $3,500 Apple Vision Pro headsets. Unlike you, Brianna, I regret every single VR purchase I have ever made. And I bought them all. No. Oculus Rift, Kickstarter. I bought
You don't like Beat Saber?
I like it. It's good. But I mean, when's the last time you played it?
It's been a while.
Yeah. It's really cool for about, the first few times and then an hour and then never again. I bought the HTC Vive. I bought the Oculus Rift Pro last year. What a waste of money that was.
Are you going to get the Vision Pro?
No, of course not. Are you?
Oh, come on. I know I shouldn't.
You could buy a pinball machine for that.
I know. I'll talk myself into it somehow. You know what we should do is Christina and I should just team up on this because we both waste money on the stupidest things possible.
You could share.
And we could just ship it back and forth to each other. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
They're already taking bets in the chat room on whether I'll get one. 5-to-1 odds that I will buy a Vision Pro. I mean, who bought a M3 Max?
Not the Max.
Who has two thumbs and bought an M3 Max? This guy.
Oh.
Actually, I really like
it.
Yeah, I know.
I love my Pro. I just, Christina, she was trying to sell her M1 Pro.
She was sitting here on this table last week, and we both bought the same thing. The top of the line MacBook, because it's a fetish object. I don't need this much computing power, but I
don't know, Leo. I was looking at it because this one, I got the 16-inch screen for mine, and it works so well with the PS5 controller. People don't tell this to you. You can just like push the PlayStation button, it'll automatically pair. And like Hades runs perfectly on it. And I got to be honest, I kind of for a minute was like, now that you can actually game on this, maybe I should have gotten the Max, because this would be a legitimately good gaming laptop.
You want to see Baldur's Gate 3?
Yes, I do.
It's pretty sweet. It runs very well. And you know, it's interesting. This is the one with 40 GPUs. You know, this is like maxed out.
Wow.
And it only gets about 2 hours battery life playing Baldur's Gate.
Oh, no.
Because, I mean, normally this gets like 11 hours. I mean, it's amazing battery life on the Apple Silicon platform. But what Apple's done that I thought was very interesting is they say, okay, you want to play this game? You want us to throw all the power at it? We'll do it. You won't get any battery life, but go ahead. So this is like playing on a PC more. By the way, I still have Windows running while I'm playing it. Where's Windows? Oh, there it is. That's Edge. So here I am with Baldur's Gate running, Windows running, and the chat room and the IRC, and it's real. And I've had this maxed out, by the way.
Seen everything.
What? I guess we've seen everything. Benito, you're going to have to help me though, because I'm stuck in this crypt. I can't figure out. I did get Gale though.
The beginning, yeah.
I got Gale. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Gale.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
There's a shortcut.
By the way, how do you like my hat? That's a good hat, huh? I found that hat. I said, I'm going to wear that hat because I look like the Grinch and I need something to hide my Grinchiness. Anyway.
There's a lever behind a statue, and if you pull that, you can go to a ladder that'll take you out of the crypt.
Oh. Ooh.
I'm just saying.
What? Okay, we're going to take a break.
GeForce Now is like, as a Mac gamer, like I have to use GeForce Now. It's like, meh.
Yeah, because you can stream it.
Fine.
This plays beautifully.
I mean, like, this Steam Deck is the way to go, but...
oh, no. This is
I'm going to try that on my M3 Pro.
I think it'll run fine on M3 Pro.
It does not run fine on the Steam Deck. It chunks.
No, I had a Steam Deck and I got rid of it.
The workaround is... No, the way to run it is GeForce Now on the Steam Deck. It runs fantastic.
Okay. I'll show you the video options. I've maxed everything out. It's running at 3024 by 1964.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, everything's maxed. And it looks beautiful. And it's already too hot for me to hold in my hand.
See, Leo, this is what I don't understand, because it feels like I've learned my lesson. I bought like the maxed out like Apple product before, and you always end up spending like, that's where they really price
they
gouge
get you. Yeah, it was $5,000.
See, I spent $4,000 on mine. If you count Apple Care, it's actually $3,700. But it's like, I feel like you get, if you always go for that mid model, right, you can get the most life out of it. And then when they come out with something that's like truly like new, you can sell the old one
because
and swap,
I'm old.
and there's going to be a market for it.
Because I'm old. This is my last laptop, like my last car. So I wanted to get
that'll happen. Yeah.
I wanted to get the most.
Sorry.
I want to get this. This is good. This is future proofed, right? So I have to say, it is a good fetish object. It's a stupid thing to buy, but there's something about it that you just want it. And Christine and I were both going, yeah, we don't need this. We could run a Chromebook and do everything we want to do. But it's my precious.
Does TWiT have a manifold markets thing set up? Can we bet on this? Do you not know this? Manifold market is like a stock market. A lot of people do this in the streaming space.
Okay.
So like I'm a frequent in Destiny world. So like I'm a character and I have my stock and people buy Brianna Wu stock when they like what I have to say.
Oh, really?
But you can also buy it for like questions to an audience. So you can buy stock like, will Leo end up buying another Mac laptop next year? I would buy that stock because I flat out don't believe it. So.
Hey, just to prove that I'm not completely full of it, I had an order for a 16-inch framework. You know, the top line framework, which I canceled. I thought, because it was going to be my Linux laptop, and I thought this is so good. I don't really need a Linux laptop. I don't need anything else. This is it. I'm running Windows on this. I could run Linux on it in emulation. This is the kind of the killer one laptop to rule them all. I feel like. Anyway, I'm spending my kids' inheritance. That's what's really happening.
Well, until M4 and OLED,
Oh boy.
M4 and OLED, huh? Could I bet on Manifold that I will and then make the money to pay for it?
It's fake money, unfortunately. Yes. Yeah, Chad is not believing you either, Leo. I'm sorry. You've lost the crowd, my friend.
That is our wonderful technical director, Benito Gonzalez. We love him. And he is the voice of God who comes down every once in a while and is the guy who's going to guide me. He and Paris Martineau are going to guide me in Baldur's Gate, right?
Sure.
But actually, Dan has just given me the best tip of all. You didn't mention the switch behind the pillar.
I wasn't sure which dungeon you were in.
Oh, I don't know which dungeon. I'm in the first one,
I don't know.
chapel.
But usually when people are stuck in the crypt,
Oh, you made that up?
No, I didn't make that up. I'm saying when people are stuck in the crypt,
there's
in
almost
Baldur's
always
Gate 3, it's
a
usually
switch.
the first one.
Look for the you gave me a direction to go. Look for a hidden switch.
Look for the switch behind that the statue with the bright light on it.
Right. There's a
switch
door
right
I
behind
can't open.
Yeah, it'll open that door. Right.
Yeah.
It opens that. And then there's a ladder that goes up.
Okay. Can you guys just talk amongst yourselves for a little bit? No, I'm just kidding.
Of course. Oh, wait. No.
Our show today brought to you by Lookout. Actually, this is very important. If you are in business, things have changed forever. The boundaries to where we work and how we work, they've just vanished, right? But what does that mean? It means your data is always on the move. It could be on a device. It could be in the cloud. It could be across networks. Frankly, it could be down at the local coffee shop or in Timbuktu. Now, that's great for your workforce, but obviously a challenge for IT security. That's why you need Lookout. Lookout helps you control your data, free your workforce. With Lookout, you'll gain complete visibility into all your data so you can minimize risk from internal and external threats, and you can ensure compliance. And by seamlessly securing hybrid work, your organization doesn't have to give up productivity and employee happiness. For security, you can have them both. And your IT department will love it because right now they're working with multi-point solutions and legacy tools, and they're jumping around. And when you move from context to context and tab to tab, stuff slips through the cracks. And nowadays, you cannot allow anything when it comes to security to slip through the cracks. Lookout's single unified platform reduces that complexity. It's all there, giving you more time to focus on whatever else comes your way. See, the bottom line is good data protection doesn't need to be a cage. It can be a springboard that lets you and your organization bound toward a future of your making. And it can still be secure thanks to Lookout. Go to lookout.com today. Learn how to safeguard your data, how to secure hybrid work, how to reduce IT complexity. Very simple. Lookout.com. One thing does it all. Thank you, Lookout, for supporting This Week in Tech. I've learned a lot. This manifold markets, the switch behind the pillar. This has been an educational show, I must say.
And Venom Pinball.
And Venom Pinball. No, you always come on, and I always salivate over these pinball things. Somebody's saying that the tip you gave me, Dan, is for Elden Ring. This is, Baldur's Gate. Not Elden Ring.
No.
Okay, good.
No, I know Elden Ring too. I know. Yeah, I know.
Disinformation.
I'm telling. Yes, that's right.
No, I'm just teasing, and I'm very happy. Thank you. Thank you.
Look, if we want to have arguments about video games, I'm happy to go there.
What? So there's a considerable amount of expectation, as there always is. There was considerable amount of expectation for Modern Warfare 3, which came out this week. Do you play?
Oh, yeah,
do you play? Are you a COD? Are you a COD guy?
No, I don't play violent games. I mean, games like that.
No, I'm with you. I like Baldur's Gate. Elden Ring's violent. It's too, It's too much battling for me. But you don't want to shoot people, is what you're saying.
I don't want to shoot people. Yeah.
I want to shoot people. I'm okay with that.
Princess
I love
Peach.
Call of Duty.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But what happened with Modern Warfare 3? Because it seems like
it's a disaster.
It's it's being reviewed bombed, as they say. Is it that it's hard, or is it that it really isn't very good?
No, they did. The usual Call of Duty game gets developed over 3 years. That's the norm.
You said like 6 months.
They spat this one out in a year and a half, and it shows. The single player mode is mostly these, PUBG, big battlefields with a lot of random things to do. The campaign sucks. It's trying to tap into some of the greatest Call of Duty moments in the past, like no Russian. It doesn't do it well. It's just not a great game. Like the multiplayer is still excellent. But this is a franchise that they've been skating for a really long time, and they are not innovating anymore. And they need to put the work in if they're going to try to sell the same video game year after year.
Reviews of Modern Warfare 3 actually lower than Redfall? What?
Yeah.
I didn't think you could get any worse than Redfall. Wow. That's bad news. Now, this, of course, coming on the heels of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision, and one of the promises they made in order to get regulator approval was that we will, for at least 10 years, make sure that Call of Duty continues to appear on PlayStation. I've seen a lot of ads for Modern Warfare 3. Benito, you're not a Call of Duty guy either, are you?
Well, I used to be. I mean, Call of Duty is one of those franchises that's been around for so long.
In a way, I think the quintessential Call of Duty fan is a guy like Paul Thurrott. Not a young guy, plays a lot online. He's been waiting for this. I'll get his review on Wednesday when we do Windows Weekly. But the thing is, these guys are devotees. I mean, that's for the longest time the only game he would play.
Well, for multiplayer, I mean, for a lot of people who play multiplayer, FPSs, like that is the game on console to play. So,
that's it. Yeah. And if you only play one game and you're devoted for years to the same game, it would be a big deal if the latest edition was disappointing.
Yeah, but like Brianna said, like the multiplayer is still probably pretty good, and like that population is a lot smaller than the population of the single player. Like, because everybody buys the single, and then they play the single player game and then they put it away. But then there's that group who just sits and plays the multiplayer.
Yeah, I don't think Paul will play the single player at all.
So like these are two distinct audiences.
Oh, okay. So the problem is with the single player, not the
typically.
Yeah. Now, but these are new maps, yes, for multiplayer or no?
I don't know. I haven't played 3.
Yeah.
It's always a mix of new maps and old maps, some of the stuff from the campaign. But the thing is, a Call of Duty campaign can actually be a gloriously fun, stupid time. The Black Ops campaigns are universally fun. There's one, I forget the name of it, Kevin Spacey plays the villain. It is a swear to God amazing story. He plays a great character at the end of it. You have to cut off your own robot hand and send Kevin Spacey falling to his death. It's amazing. It's a great time. It's like a big dumb action movie. So it's frustrating when you see what should be one of the highlights of the game year just like completely fall apart because they are overworking their developers and not investing in new pipelines.
Bloomberg, Janko, you cover games. Do you play?
I do not cover games, and I do not play. So I don't cover video games.
Aren't you lucky? Neither do I, by the way. But I think this is a story. Why was there such a short 16-month turnaround on this?
I don't know. I'm sure we'll get some breakthrough piece eventually to explaining what went wrong.
It's Activision's biggest game, $30 billion in revenue over 2 decades.
Well, I think that's probably it right there. Like they've been making this game for 20 years. So
yeah, they're kind of bored.
They're trying to get it to the point where it costs as little as possible, which makes them the most money, right? Like that's kind of it.
According to Bloomberg, the process was hurried because this year's game was conceived to fill a gap in the release schedule following the delay of another Call of Duty title previously planned for this year. Modern Warfare 3 was originally pitched to staff as DLC, as an expansion pack. Yeah. But it morphed into a full sequel during development, according to Bloomberg, which, by the way, Activision denies. But more than this is Bloomberg's reporting. Good reporting. More than a dozen current and former Call of Duty developers say, "Yeah, no, that conflicts with what we were told. It was definitely going to be an expansion that they turned into a full-fledged release." Some staff at Sledgehammer, who had to work nights and weekends to finish the game, said they felt betrayed by the company, again reading from Bloomberg, because they were promised they wouldn't have to go through another shortened timeline after the release of Vanguard, which was made under a similarly constrained development cycle.
Yeah, and Vanguard sucked.
The game's story has received, and the story is for single player, right? There's no story in multiplayer. The game's story has received bleak reviews from the largest gaming outlets. GameSpot critics S.E. Doster offered a mediocre 5 out of 10, and the declaration that the story doesn't do much worth seeing. No tearing off your robot hand, for sure. At IGN, reviewer Simon Carty gave the game 4 out of 10 and wrote the game feels hastily put together, adding that if this is the quality we've come to expect from Call of Duty campaigns, maybe it's for the best if a year or two is taken to reset and raise the low bar back to the heights of old.
It won't happen. I mean, it's such an event every single year. Everyone buys it and everyone plays all through the holidays. Yeah. That's just, it's just part of Christmas.
It's going to be a grim Christmas this year, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Maybe you could play a different game.
Leo, I do have some bad news. I have a meeting I cannot miss in 15 minutes.
Oh, somebody told me this and I forgot about it. All right, let me do my last ad. We got to get rid of you. I apologize. Janko, I'm sure you've got places to be. Fred the dog needs to be fed.
Can we talk about one story that I would love to talk about?
When we come back, yes.
All right.
Final big story that Janko actually cares about finally coming up. Yes. I apologize. I know, no interest in Call of Duty. I apologize. This Week in Tech brought to you this week by Miro. Oh, I love the Miro. We use Miro like crazy. It can be used for so many different things. It's an online workspace for innovation. An incredible visual place, a central source of truth. So these days with teams in different time zones and working at home and in different workplaces, this is a place they can all get together and meet and work on a project together. If you're a startup, a great place to put together your minimum viable product and your pitch deck. If you're doing a dream product, it's the place for your home base. In fact, really great it can do so many things, but really particularly good for product development. 6 whole capability bundles from product development workflows to content visualization, all powered by Miro AI, which is really handy for brainstorming, generating ideas, or taking the contents of your Miro board and summarizing all sorts of complex information instantly. In fact, it's a really good use for it. Miro can work for any team, but product development teams get the full experience. It offers teams the richest feature set of any visual workspace with specific tools to help with strategy or process mapping. You've got facilitation tools to run effective design or agile sprints. Miro connects super seamlessly to the platforms you're already using. You use Jira or Confluence? Yes, it supports that. We use it with Google Docs, Asana. We use it with Zapier. The thing is, you can use all these tools, but they're all within Miro. You don't have to leave Miro to update projects or statuses. You can do it all within Miro. And that also saves brain cycles, saves energy, saves innovation, because everything you need is right there. It will also save time. Nobody needs more meetings. Miro users report saving up to 80 hours a year, like 2 weeks a year, by streamlining conversations and cutting down on meetings. having everything in one place. Miro just released a board video recording feature that's great for feedback, especially for people in different time zones. It's called Talk Track. It eliminates meetings. You pre-record your thoughts as a video and put it right on the board instead of scheduling another meeting. Last thing I need. Go on, try it out for yourself. Your first 3 boards are free. Start working better. Miro, Miro.com/podcast. Miro.com/podcast. It is a great tool. I can vouch for that. We use it ourselves. Miro.com/podcast. Real quickly, before we get to Janko's big story, I do want to show you some of the things that happened this week on TWiT. I have face blindness.
Same.
Yeah, you do? You see somebody, I know
really
you.
Embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
I know you, but
if I close my eyes, I cannot see my children's faces. I cannot see my wife's face. I cannot conjure that up in front of me.
If you were handed an apple right now with your eyes closed, would you know what it is by its shape?
Oh, yeah. I'm not an idiot.
Okay.
I don't think he doesn't have object permanence.
Where'd you go?
Peekaboo, Leo. Peekaboo.
Previously on TWiT. TWiT News.
Welcome to TWiT's live coverage of OpenAI's Dev Day, their developer conference. The big announcement that most users of ChatGPT, let's say, are going to be really curious about is these custom trained models. You can create a GPT similar to what we've done, and you don't necessarily need a programming language knowledge to do that.
MacBreak Weekly.
Jason's got the new iMac. He's got the new 16-inch MacBook Pro Max. So we're going to talk about those and how to decide what to buy.
Tech News Weekly.
I've got the Pixel Watch 2 on my wrist. They've really improved with the integration with Fitbit and everything. They've really kind of built out some of the pain points around fitness.
Hands-on Mac.
How in the world can I stop those annoying reactions from popping up whenever I am trying to record video? Well, let's find out.
If you missed TWiT this week, you missed a lot.
And of course, if you're in Club TWiT, you won't miss a minute. Ad-free versions of all of our shows, the Discord, the live stream is going to continue in the Discord. You'll be able to watch live there as well on our stage. We've got all sorts of content we don't put out anywhere else. And it's only $7 a month. The reason I want to encourage you to join Club TWiT is, frankly, we need it these days because advertising dollars seem to be disappearing from podcasting in general. So many podcast networks going out of business. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to keep doing this. If you want us to keep doing it, twit.tv/club TWiT. Your $7 makes a big difference, and we thank you for your support. Janko's big scoop. Amazon is ditching Android for Fire TVs and smart displays. What?
Yeah.
So what are they going to?
They have been developing their own operating system in-house. So Fire TVs, Android, Amazon brought out 10 years ago, right? Or about almost 10 years ago. I think it was 2014. And ever since, they've been using something called Fire OS, but under the hood, that's basically Android based on the open source version of Android.
Same thing with the tablets, right? The Fire tablets.
Same thing with Android. The tablets.
Yeah.
Same thing with their smart displays, the Echo Shows. It all runs Android under the hood. And it comes with a bunch of downsides, right? First of all, they depend on waiting for Google to release those things as AOSP releases. There also has been fights with Google in the past where Google has basically blocked them from working with certain TV makers for years. And so all of that has led to them for a couple of years now looking at alternatives. And I've heard some gossip about that a couple of years ago, and I've sort of following it a little bit ever since. And now they really seem to be very close. And I've talked to folks that told me the first device running this new operating system may come out as early as next year. And it's a Linux-based operating system. It's very web forward. They're going to use React Native for developers to build apps for this system. They're going to have a Fire TV device out next year, but the plan ultimately is to move all of their devices towards the new operating system and ditch Android altogether. And so that's tens of millions of devices, eventually hundreds of millions probably. So Fire TV alone, Amazon shipped, I think, 50 million devices. So the sticks, the pucks, whatever they have, TVs with Fire TV built in. They will ship 50 million in a little over a year last year. So you can imagine once they start shifting all this to this new operating system, they're quickly going to have tens of millions of devices running a completely different operating system out there.
Do they don't pay Google for the use of open source Android, though, do they? So it's not a revenue loss for Google.
It's not a revenue loss for Google, and one could argue that Google might actually prefer it, even though I'm not entirely sure. But there was always friction, because Google doesn't like people to use forked versions of Android. Right. They're putting it out there, but they have all these requirements. So if you're a device maker, if you make phones running Google's Android, or if you're making TVs running Google's Android, you have to agree to these anti-fragmentation requirements. And
in fact, that's one of the things that's brought the DOJ lawsuit against Google is those restrictive covenants if you use Android.
And so that has been a sticking point for a long time, and was a reason that for a long time you could only buy Fire TVs from like really obscure manufacturers, and they weren't able to bring it to TCL, they weren't able to bring it to Hisense for a number of years, because Google was basically blocking these companies and saying, if you work with Amazon, you can't use our stuff anymore on TVs or on phones or on anything else. And so that scared anybody away and really depressed Amazon's sort of market share there.
You know who's going to be hurt by this? I think of two parties. One, Docta's friend who goes around selling hacked Fire TV sticks with all of the pirated streams on it, which is a big market.
That was one of the first comments when I came the story out. Like everybody else was kind of like, "Oh, this is interesting. It's going to be Linux. It's going to be fun, maybe." But everybody on Reddit was like, "Oh no, how are we going to sideload our hacked stuff on this now? How are we going to do Kodi and all this stuff?"
Exactly.
So yeah, there's going to be some people are going to be upset by it for sure.
The other party that might be upset is Microsoft, because they have the Android store on Windows, but it's not the Google Play Store; it's the Amazon store. And I think if Amazon has a weakened interest in promoting an Amazon Android store, that could be an issue. The story is that Microsoft went to Google, and Google said, no, you can't do that. So they went to Amazon and got the store from Amazon. But that's how you get Android apps on Windows right now, is through the Fire store. So we'll watch that with some interest. See, that's a good scoop. I like it.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest story I had so far.
So Vega is the new OS? I always get nervous when companies build their own OSs. I mean, that's wow. Okay.
Will this also be? Do the Fire tablets still run a forked version of Android, and will this cover those as well?
That is a very good question. So I heard a source that told me that they basically want to move away from Android for all the devices, which would include the tablets.
Yeah.
But the tablets are arguably the part that is the trickiest, because if you have a TV, right, you have like maybe 5-10 streaming services. You have a handful of apps really. But tablets, people download way more games, many more different apps. So transitioning all of that, I imagine, would be very challenging. Now, pure speculation on my side, but I would imagine that there might be ways to work around that. Maybe you run Android apps in a virtual machine, kind of like you can run Android apps on a Chromebook, where it's not really an operating system, Chrome, but you can still run Android apps on it. So there might be some workarounds in a transition time, but I am not entirely sure how that's going to look like for those types of devices.
Amazing.
We should point out, as you do in your article, that Fire TVs run on Fire OS 7, which is based on Android 9, and we're currently at 14. I bet you it cost Amazon a lot of money to keep these things secure. It would kind of make sense, as expensive as it is to do your own OS, that they might want to move to something.
They have been always in this follower position, for sure. So for them to have their own thing and just release without any regards for whatever Google does, makes a lot of sense.
And everybody on Twitter will be very happy to know it's going to use React Native as the application framework. For some reason, Twitter has turned into the React Native home base. Brianna, I'm going to let you go. I can feel you.
Thank you.
Feel you pulling away from us even as we speak.
Sorry, it's a really
got work to
meeting
do.
in another time zone. I apologize.
Brianna,
I'm usually here for the whole party. You know
fine.
me.
It's we're wrapping it up anyway. Rebellionpack.com.
Yes.
Brianna Wu on the Twitter and soon on TWiT social. What else you want to plug?
Yeah, that's really it. I've got a really fun project that's coming up for the beginning of the year. So we are doing deep canvassing this time around. We are going to be working with a ton of the top streamers in the space, Destiny being one of them. And basically, people, their streamers on Twitch are going to be living in canvassing houses in swing states, going out every single day, talking to the community, getting people registered to vote, and winning elections. This is literally teaching Gen Z how to not just talk about change, but actually get out there and do it. So, I hope I can come on TWiT and talk about that as we're getting a little closer.
You sure as hell can. You can come on TWiT anytime you want. Thank you,
Amazing.
Brianna. Love you.
Of
Have
course.
a great week. And we'll see you next
Lisa's
time.
already written me about hanging out when y'all are in Rhode Island.
Good.
So
she wants to
hang
play
out soon.
pinball.
That's it.
Take care, Brianna.
See y'all soon.
Bye-bye. I also want to thank Janko Roettgers. His new venture, his newsletter is lowpass.cc. You said this is a Beehive newsletter. You like Beehive?
Yeah, I like Beehive a lot, actually. It's a solid platform for newsletters, and they are very quickly iterating, so they have new stuff all the time. I can barely catch up.
And you like the CMS?
Yeah, I mean it's more for newsletters than for running a website, but the website looks pretty good too, I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't even customize anything. Basically, I used it out of the box.
It looks great.
I want to redesign the whole thing at some point, but I actually got to write this thing too. And
nobody's got time for that. Just this is good. It's functional. One of the things that I do now when I subscribe, and I just subscribed again for the second time to Lowpass, is put it in my Omnivore, which is a kind of a reader for newsletters, because the stuff gets lost in my mailbox. So now what I do is I use Omnivore for my subscriptions, and I use a special email address so I can read my subscriptions in what is essentially a newsreader, but just for newsletters. So I really love this idea. So I will use my Omnivore email address on Lowpass so that I can, so it doesn't matter what you use. I'll be reading it as a newsletter. Thank you, Janko. Really great to see you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Dan Patterson, Director
Great to be here.
Content and Communications, Blackbird.ai. I think you're doing God's work there. I mean, this information, boy, you couldn't pick a better time to be covering this. This is a mess we got right now.
It's a interesting problem to solve. It'll be a crazy year.
And I like this term, narrative attacks. You guys, did you invent that? Because it's really a good description of what's going on.
Yeah, it's an easier way. It's maybe not easier, but it's misinformation can be confusing, but everybody can understand what a narrative attack is.
Yeah, and if you lose control of your story, man, you're in deep trouble. Very, very good stuff.
That is true.
Yeah. Blackbird.ai, and of course news.danpatterson.com. And you write a lot there too, actually. I don't know how you have time to do all of this. I'm just
it's fun.
Glad to have you back on the show. You're always fantastic. That's a newsletter. I can subscribe to it. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Substack, but maybe I'll move to Beehive.
I'm hearing good things. Yeah, a lot of people love Beehive. Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Janko. Thank you, Brianna. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We do the show This Week in Tech every Sunday afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. If you want to join us, please do. This will be the last live stream available on the website. We're moving the live streams into Discord, into our club. So we will continue to live stream in the club for people who watch live. That's a small fraction of the people who watch the show. Most of you are listening or watching to downloaded versions of the show. Those will still be available on the website, twit.tv, as with all of our shows. They'll also be available on YouTube. We're not killing the YouTube channel, so you can watch This Week in Tech on YouTube. It just won't be as we record it. It'll be shortly after we've put the beginning and the end on and taken any cuss words out. There's also probably the best way to do it is to get Pocket Casts or some other podcast app. We like Pocket Casts, but you get to choose and subscribe. And the links are there at twit.tv on the website. paste those in and you'll get it automatically, audio or video, the minute we've finished the show. And again, if you do want to interact with us live or watch live, Club TWiT's a great option, $7 a month, and that Discord is there. We will always be live in the Discord. No, I shouldn't say always. Maybe not always, but at least for the foreseeable future, we'll be live in the Discord, so you can watch those live streams there. We appreciate your support in the club, twit.tv/club TWiT. I will be back in a month. I'm going to Las Vegas next Sunday for the Formula One race. I'm going on retreat after that with no technology allowed. So that means I'll be back December 8th. Is that what it is? The second week in December on the show. But we've got great people. Not December 8th. December 10th. We've got great people filling in for me, including our own Jason Howell. We got some great hosts. I think Devendra Hardawar is going to do a show. So I will be back December 10th. I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving. I won't be here for that. For those who celebrate, I hope you're having a great Diwali. For those celebrating Diwali this week. And I'll see you next time. In the meanwhile, another TWiT is in the can. Bye-bye.